Hello and welcome to Media Lit, where we treat each piece of media like great literature. I'm your host, Randy Lane, and joining me as always is the one and only Kris Ingersoll. Kris, this is a very special episode for us because we are kicking off season 2 of Media Lit, and I could not be more excited. How about you?
Absolutely thrilled to be in season 2 with you. I can't believe we can really say that. That's amazing. To be transparent, I had a little bit of a stressful day. I did. But I'm ready to shake it off. I'm excited to be here with you, ready to pod tonight for what should be a very special evening. I brought my cardigan and everything.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah, I share your feeling of stress, Kris, because tonight we are tackling a huge topic. Typically, this is a show where we will do a deep dive into an album, a movie, a single episode of television. We don't even tend to deal in entire seasons. We've certainly done drafts before, but this is arguably, Kris, the largest topic we've ever tried to tackle in one single podcast.
It's a big one.
Yeah, can you reveal to our podlings what is on the docket for today?
Well, tonight, thanks to a guest yet to be revealed, we get to celebrate the absolute incomparable, the one, the only, Miss Taylor Swift in all of her eras. Tonight, we get to draft the very best Taylor Swift songs. I can't believe we're here, buddy. It's been a long run up to this one, I gotta say.
Yeah, if you could find me in 2006 and tell me that someday I would be devoting hours of my life to going through Taylor Swift's entire catalog, if you told me she was the biggest artist in the entire world, I might be a little bit surprised. But yeah, she's kind of always been there. And I've never had negative feelings toward Taylor Swift, but I haven't always been a Swiftie. I was slow on the uptake. I think back in the day, I assumed she was just another pop starlet, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I was not necessarily anticipating where this would all go. She started to hit my radar a little bit more when my wife attended a concert for the 1989 tour and came back more excited about a concert than I had ever seen her before. And Taylor paraphernalia started popping up in our home. I started hearing about it a little bit more often. Then, in my work as an English teacher, I was teaching the actual class called Media Lit that this podcast was inspired by. And one of my students did her final project on Taylor Swift. Why she's such a great role model. She taught me what eras were. And this was back in spring 2022 before the Eras tour was announced. And she did a great job and she sold me on it. Showed me not just the music, but that public persona that Taylor Swift has put out there, some of the battles that she has fought. For instance, a high profile sexual assault case where she wanted to make sure that she was heard. And then, of course, the Eras tour happened and you can't not know Taylor. But I didn't become a true Swiftie until I started prepping for this draft. And I am sorry to my 12-year-old niece who told me that I am not a real Swiftie when I tried to talk to her about Taylor Swift on New Year's Eve. But it cut like a knife. No, but believe it or not, she's actually very sweet. And she was saying it from a supportive place. So she kind of challenged me to get deeper into some of the lesser played tracks. And I think I've come a long way in the last 2 weeks, thanks to her. So there you have it. Now, we're doing a massive Taylor Swift draft. And if you are going to draft songs from such a diverse catalog and make it entertaining, you need to bring in the very best. Or I guess I should say the very best needs to bring you in, because we have joining us tonight the director of podcasting at the Pop Break, Alex Marcus, the man who came up with this Taylor Swift draft idea, pitched it to us, drew us into his excitement, and put together this whole activity that we have before us here tonight. If you are a regular listener to Media Lit, you might know Alex from our Guardians of the Galaxy episode, where we crafted our own mixes and pitched our own fourth episodes in the Guardians of the Galaxy series, which was a really fun podcast. But Alex, how are you doing tonight? And can you just give us the quick basics on what this activity is, what this journey is that we are about to embark upon together?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here. Right now is the last time I can dream about what happens when we draft all of Taylor Swift's songs. So it's very exciting for me. And that's what we're going to do. We have a lot of categories. It's going to be really fun. 10 categories specifically. I'll run through the list. It's basically, if you've ever heard of, like, if you've ever done a fantasy draft, it's like that. But instead of positions on a team, we're having categories of songs. So some of those categories are best single. Pretty straightforward. If it's been released off of an album as a single, it's eligible. Best falling in love song. Now, Taylor has some bittersweet falling in love songs. It's kind of, so there's some that are very clearly, I'm falling in love with this person and it's wonderful. And there's some that are a little bit more complicated. So there might be some kind of disagreements. I'm making a case for why they should be eligible, but that's going to be part of the fun. Similar with breakup song. Is it a song about a breakup that's happened? Is it a song about a relationship that is headed for a breakup? We could decide whether that's eligible or not based on the case that you guys make. We'll also be doing best self-reflection song. One thing that I think all of Taylor's fans know, but a lot of her haters don't, is that she writes a lot of songs about the difficulties in her life outside of her romances, and that will be covered in this category. Speaking of difficulties, of course, she is known for her celebrity feuds, and we will be including best beef track here as a category. But she's also known for being a good friend and loving family members. So we have best friends and family tracks. So that's any song that is about a relationship that is not romantic in nature. Some of them might be a little bit of a stretch, at least if Randy is to believe. She's told me that he has some interesting definitions for some of these, so we'll find out. We also have best vocal collab. So Taylor is not known for her collaborations with other artists, but she has had a good handful over the years, and all of them are eligible here. Has to be a vocal collab. So if it's like it's not about producers, it's not about just like a guitar riff. It's it's just that. So we also have best bonus track. Something that Taylor loves to do is to release extra songs after she releases her albums. Most famously, I think, was when she released Midnights. It was like, oh, here's my album. Oh, by the way, you've just finished listening to my album at 3 a.m. Here's even more songs. Now you've finished listening to those songs and it's dawn. Here's even more songs, right? So all bonus tracks count. And technically, because when she released the double album, The Tortured Poets Department, the anthology was a whole giant bonus track as bonus album, right? All of those songs count here. So there's a lot to choose from just off of that album alone, but she's done it throughout her career as well. And we also have Best from the Vault track. So anybody who knows Taylor Swift knows that she has been re-recording all of her first series of albums. She's done almost all of them. She has 2 left to do. She's got Reputation and Debut left, but otherwise she's put out all of her original albums as re-recordings, so that way she can own those songs outright after the rights had been stolen from her in very unfair ways, if you believe her anyway. So while doing that project, she decided to release a bunch of songs that she wrote and had some level of recording and production done during the time of the album, but ultimately those songs didn't make the album. And so for the re-releases, they were added to the album. So all of those songs are included here. And finally, we have our wild card. And the wild card is what it sounds like. It's basically anything. So there are some songs that she's put out that don't fit into any of these categories. And if you love those songs in particular, you should definitely draft them here. But if you also want to double up in a category, if there's just 2 love songs that you can't possibly not include on your draft, you can also draft that there as well. So it's really kind of a catch-all for whatever you're looking for. Those are all of the categories. I will clarify, not every single song that Taylor Swift has ever written is eligible for this draft. Only the songs that are on her studio albums are. But that includes, the Taylor's versions where many of her songs that were originally part of soundtracks, things like that, are then added to the canonical Taylor's version of the album. So those are included. But there are some songs like her song from the Cats soundtrack, for instance, not eligible for this draft.
Perfect. Alex, thank you so much for giving us that overview. Now, we're about to introduce a whole panel of guests. And just right at the top, before everyone has Taylor on the brain and we devote this night to her, I do want to give everybody a chance to just quickly pitch any other work you have out there in the world, podcasts, or if you have any sort of social media presence you want to promote. Alex, where can people find you if they want to find more of your great work planning drafts just like this one?
Yeah, so if you like this draft and you have other interests outside of Taylor Swift, you could definitely head over to thepopbreak.com, click on the podcast tab. I am the podcasting director over there. That means that I am kind of executive producing a whole bunch of podcasts on various topics from music, movies, TV, comic books, wrestling, all sorts of stuff. I host 2 podcasts there that are both monthly podcasts that you could listen to. One is about television. It's called TV Break. We come out once a month talking about the ins and outs of the world of TV, news and reviews. I also host Bill versus the MCU. I am not Bill. My co-host is Bill Bodkin, who's the editor-in-chief of the website. And we have been, for the last few years, rewatching every Marvel thing that exists. Basically, it started out rewatching the entire MCU. We watched the first 4 phases in a single year. And now we've been taking a tour of the various Marvel multiverse since then. So you can definitely check that out as well. And for my socials, best place to follow me is on Letterboxd at Media Thinkings. You can also follow me on Blue Sky at Alex Marcus.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely follow Alex. Not only is he a great podcaster, but he's a great guy. Alex, Kris, and I were able to get together recently in Boston. Spend a nice day talking and chatting. I was talking quite a bit about the Tortured Poets department that day as I worked on my Taylor Swift journey for this very draft. But it's great to see you back on my Zoom screen there, Alex. Great to see you. Kris, is it just the 3 of us, or is there anyone else joining us today?
It's not just the 3 of us. There are way too many Taylor Swift songs to have just 3 of us picking from 10 categories. No. We're going to have ultimately 7 of us here, and I'm excited to introduce 2 who are also returning guests to the Media Lit pod. First, we have the first ever guest host of Media Lit. Maria Giddings is joining us tonight. Maria, welcome back to Media Lit.
Hey, thanks for having me back. I'm really excited to be here. I love Taylor Swift.
Yeah, tell me, how long have you loved Taylor? And tell us a little bit about your socials and what kind of work you do out there.
So I think I've liked Taylor a lot, like since, she first kind of was around, but I wasn't like a super fan. Like I wasn't a Swiftie or anything really until around the time that Folklore came out. I have friends, that are, I would say, one of my best friends is a diehard Swiftie, that knows all the Easter eggs, everything like that. And she really kept trying to convert me because, it's a little bit like a little cultish, And I started, she really started convincing me, and I just started to fall in love. And when Folklore came out, I was hooked. It was everything about it was just everything I love about, in music and storytelling and stuff. So it just really hooked me in. And then she happened to win tickets to go see her at Gillette, and we were there for the concert that got rained out, and it was just such an amazing experience. And I fully converted, like Swiftie ever since then. So
unbelievable.
Yeah,
She won tickets. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm a writer. I do ghostwriting and a lot of freelance work. I'm in the middle of trying to publish some stuff. You can find me on social medias on Instagram and recently Blue Sky. So I left my old author platform. So please follow me. I'm both sad and funny.
This is true. Welcome back. Thanks. And also joining us again, fresh off of our lost draft and pitch, we have entertainment writer Leah Marilla Thomas. Welcome back to the pod, Leah.
Thank you for having me.
So stoked to have you. Tell me a little bit about why you love Taylor Swift and where folks can find you in the world.
Well, first of all, big rip to the Safe and Sound pull that I was going to try to do. That's fine.
Mhm.
I'm also a late adopter. This is interesting. I don't actually get to talk about Taylor Swift that much, and she ends up on my fucking Spotify Wrapped every year, even though I do not consider. I'm actually like trying to abstain from listening to her on Spotify for the full year just to see what happens. So anyway, like I said, I'm a late-ish adopter. So like her first 3 albums came out around when I was in college. She wasn't super on my radar. I'm not a huge country person, and I was living in North Carolina at the time, and so I was very adamant about not being a country person in kind of a problematic, not like other girls way. It's fine. That's in the past.
Respect.
Yeah, my friends were more into pop music. I remember thinking that like her crimped hair was a little scary. That was like my main impression. But then she hosted SNL in 2009, and that was the first time that I really took note of her because it's a really good episode. She's really, really funny on SNL. And then a little bit more aware of like Singles from Red and 1989. And then when Ryan Adams covered 1989, all of a sudden the men in my life started talking about what a good album it was. And I got activated in kind of a weird way and like really defensive of this woman that I didn't really care that much about. And I started like listening to her more intently and like listening to her lyrics. Reputation comes out, I'm in.
Yes.
Right? And still like not in comparison to what like I don't think that I could like hold a candle to the average Swiftie, but I like puzzles, but I'm not super interested in figuring out like the IRL correlation of every single lyric. I'd rather just listen to it. But she's like such a good songwriter and storyteller. I think Folklore is like an actual masterpiece.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is going to be a challenge for me because most of my favorites are off of like Folklore, Mastermind, and Reputation. And I have no explanation as to why. So this will be fun for me.
This is going to be fun.
And I'm also a freelance writer. You can find me all over the place, just scraping by. If you like going back into old podcasts, I co-produced a season of the HeadGum podcast Newcomers with Nicole Byer and Lauren Lapkus for their Marvel season.
Nice.
That's timeless because the MCU is timeless.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can follow me at Leah Marilla on like pretty much every social media. I did make my Twitter private last November for no reason. But if you follow me, I'll probably let you in. It's fine. I'm normal in there. And then Blue Sky and Letterboxd, please. Let's get into it. Let's make Letterboxd the thing.
Yes, let's make Blue Sky happen, people. Come on.
Yes, and Blue Sky. We got to skeet.
Welcome back. Thanks, Leah.
Yeah, fun fact, one of my students followed me on Letterboxd today. She tracked me down, and I then had to admit that I've updated it about 4 times. So there wasn't much to impress her there, but maybe I'll get back into it. Now, Kris, you, me, Alex, Maria, Leah, that makes 5, but we boasted 7 people on this podcast. It would not be a new season of Media Lit if we were not once again doing our best to grow our podcasting family. So I took to the internet as I was becoming a Swiftie in real time over the last couple of months. I started checking out Taylor Swift podcasts. I was listening to the music, getting really pumped up for this draft. And I found quite a few great podcasts out there, but one of them was particularly unique and particularly reminded me of the vibe that we are often going for on Media Lit. And that was a podcast called Space Swifties, a Star Wars and Taylor Swift podcast. Just from the title alone, I knew I was going to be a fan. But when I started checking out the episodes, I met this couple, Meg and Davor, and they are not only smart and great Taylor Swift fans, but also incredibly charming. And they do really sweet things on the podcast, like record themselves in the car going to Target on Black Friday to try and get all the latest Taylor Swift merch. And it's a total blast. And you should absolutely check it out. So I reached out to the creators and the hosts of this podcast. I just took a shot in the dark. I was like, maybe I can convince them that we share a similar love for media. And sure enough, Meg and Davor were incredibly kind. And I am incredibly proud to announce that Meg and Davor are here with us tonight. So, folks, can you tell us a little bit about Space Swifties and tell us a little bit about why you were such huge Taylor Swift fans?
Oh, yeah. First of all, that email that you sent was so nice. And I immediately showed Davor, and I was like, someone is listening to the podcast.
I know.
Because the weird thing about podcasting is, like, you kind of forget that there might be other people listening sometimes. And so because you're kind of just talking to your guests or your co-host or whoever it might be, and like you forget that like other people can find it, which I know is the point of podcasting, but it was so nice. And I was like, they like the show. So of course we had to say yes. Space Swifties came about in kind of an interesting way, which is I used to be on a Star Wars podcast a long time ago, and we were doing a playlist of a Star Wars movie. So you could pick like any music that you wanted to. And the joke between me and my friends is always that I only listened to one artist, and that was Taylor Swift. Really, I listened to so much Taylor Swift that like it's so easy for me to connect her songs to any story because she's such a good, versatile storyteller. So for this playlist, I had made all Taylor Swift songs to go with this Star Wars movie, and it worked eerily well. And it was kind of terrifying. And I was like, what if I did an entire podcast that was just this? And it took a couple of years for Davor and I to finally like get it going, but I'm so glad we did because it's so much fun.
Yeah, it is.
I've been a Taylor Swift fan probably since 2007. My best friend growing up was like, you have to listen to this artist. And so she had to give me the disclaimer. She's like, I know you don't like country, but she's really, really good. And I promise you're going to love her. And I was like, okay, I don't believe you. And I heard Teardrops on my guitar and I was like, no, I'm sold. And really it was like when Fearless came out and I was like in the fandom for that album coming out, it was just like, there was really no turning back. And I had like a spiritual experience when I listened to Lover for the first time. And I was like, this is the best album I've ever heard. And I just love her music. And I think she's just really, really, really good at what she does. And we were able to go to the Eras tour. And I couldn't even like fathom that like Taylor Swift was like right there. Just to someone that I followed for so long is like me and her and however many other people were there all singing the songs together was really, really great. And just, I think really made me appreciate her as an artist even more, seeing her live like that. What about you? Because I've been talking for a long time.
Yeah. So my gateway into the fandom was Red. So before that album came out, I listened to Taylor Swift songs, but mainly it was like I was in the car and, the radio was on and a Taylor Swift song would come on and you'd listen to it. But Red was sort of the turning point where, I mean, I don't know what it is particular. I mean, there's a lot of things I think that are really strong about that album and why I love it. But it was that album that was the first time that I really started like actively listening to her music and then seeking out her, like her other discography, such as it was at that point, because at that point it was only 4 albums. And yeah, it just sort of, it grew from there. Then sort of 1989 was kind of the first album where I was like, anticipating it. And I was like actually in the fandom. It was part of that. So that was great. And then for Reputation, I saw her at Rep Tour. So that was a blast. And then, yeah, as Meg mentioned, we went to Era's tour in 23. Yes, that was 23.
Yes.
Awesome. No, thank you so much for sharing that. And, you folks host a Star Wars podcast. So, like, if you're someone who is a little bit more of a Taylor Swift outsider like me, I think about, like, the Star Wars timeline. You've got, like, before and after the Battle of Yavin. So, like, for outsiders for Taylor Swift, I feel like there's, like, before and after Shake It Off. I'm not trying to say that's her best song or that 1989 is her best album, but I feel like that was the point where like you could no longer even pretend that she was not the biggest thing in the universe. Like she was on your radar, whether you knew it or not, whether it was your choice. So no, that's beautiful stuff. Before we dive into the draft, do you have any other projects that you want to promote or any social medias that you actually want people to find or anything like that?
You can follow me at McDowell on Blue Sky. That's where I post anything that I write. I also have a Star Wars podcast called Now This Is Lit, where I talk about Star Wars books, get to talk to Star Wars book authors. It's really fun. Anything that I'm publishing, whether it be podcasting or articles or anything like that, it's on Blue Sky. Follow me there because I lost my Twitter following, and it's fine. It's fine. We're all gonna be fine.
You can follow me also on Blue Sky. I'm there at Demondum, and I also am a co-host on Clashing Sabers, which is a Star Wars podcast. So
nice. Thank you so much, and thanks again for being here tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, and I realized I forgot to give my Taylor Swift origin story because I had all of those rules to describe. So I briefly, before we
Alex,
move on,
I will let you do it, but you just have to tell our guests about how you combined Taylor Swift with X-Men 97.
Oh, well, I definitely did do that. I was hosting a weekly review podcast for the X-Men 97 series for the popbreak.com called Saturday Morning Adventures. And that obviously came out at the same time that Tortured Poets Department came out. And I did make my co-host, who doesn't really have any opinion on Taylor Swift and did not listen to any of the album beforehand, listen to me make heartfelt explanations for why each song that I had chosen was the perfect song for that particular character who was in the main cast of X-Men 97. So if you're interested, you could dig into our archives and find that completely deranged thing that I did. But it was something that made me feel really connected to you guys, because I know that is something that you guys do with your Star Wars and Swift podcast. So it felt really nice. I was like, oh, I'm not the only lunatic in the world who would think to do this. So that was really nice.
Thank you, Alex. But yeah, what is your Taylor Swift origin story? You're the whole reason we're here tonight. So it's kind of fitting that we end with your origins.
Yeah, so I feel like very insecure about calling myself a Swiftie because number one, I'm not a merch guy, so I did not buy all of the vinyls or anything. I'm sorry, apologies in advance. But also, I started very recently relative to Taylor Swift's illustrious career. I obviously was alive in the world, so I was aware of her singles and things like that for a long time growing up. She is about 6 months older than me, so our lives have run parallel tracks. But I did not really get into her music that much for a very long time. 1989 was a huge album. It sucked me in. I definitely listened to that a lot that summer and liked it quite a bit. But I'm not like a huge music person in general. I don't typically before recently, I was not a typical like subscriber to Spotify for live music because I'm a big podcast person and that just takes up a lot of hours of audio. So that's my problem, not yours. But so when I was briefly subscribing to Spotify, it was during the time that Folklore had just come out, and it was 2020, and everyone was feeling horrible and had nothing to do all day. So I listened to all of Folklore for a while and really enjoyed it. And I was like, okay, this is awesome, and I really like this album. But then I didn't carry on after that because my trial subscription to Spotify ended, and so that was that by Taylor. But then when the Eras Tour happened, I tried to be a good uncle. My niece was 13, and I said, well, I can't bring you to the Eras Tour because I don't make that much money, but I can bring you to the cinematic version of the Eras Tour. And so I did that for her 13th birthday, her and her friend. And I became radicalized, basically, from that experience because she just absolutely blew me away. I loved, number one, like the athleticism of her performance, the creativity. I loved how much of a theater kid she clearly is, like how much she gives to all of the performances and how much she really embodies like each individual era. And the other thing that really jumped out to me is that it felt like I was watching somebody kind of like the musical version of the Richard Linklater film Boyhood, right? Where it's like every era of her life was this moment of like, here is what I think about the world. This is what I know is important. These were the mistakes that I made in my life in this moment, and now I have it all figured out. And then she'd move on to a new era, and she'd be like, actually, I was totally wrong about all that stuff. Never mind. Here's what I know about the world now and what is important and what I figured out. And I just loved that about the experience. And so I just went headfirst into all of the albums, and I just was blown away by what a great storyteller she is, what a great how great she is at capturing those moments. And because we are so close in age, it just really felt like she was scripting a lot of experience that I had or that other people I know had. And I just felt a really strong connection to all of the different songs at that point. So I became just completely radicalized after that.
That's absolutely perfect, Alex. And you prompted a genuine media lit moment. I've just got to hit you with a little literature. The way you described Taylor obviously got me thinking about Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Which she would
Obviously.
appreciate very much so.
Yeah, I mean, speak what you think now in hard words, and tomorrow speak what tomorrow thinks in hard words again, though it contradict everything you said today. So, there you go.
That's
Comparing
wisdom.
her to a poet that lived in the woods is the highest compliment she probably would want to receive. So it's very nice of you, Randy.
Beautiful stuff.
Really good. Well, now that we're all a little warmed up, we know the players who are in the game. We understand why we love Taylor. Before we get into the draft itself, just to kind of further warm up the vocal cords and get talking, I would love to talk about track fives. We're all going to pick a favorite, but Alex, first, can you just tell us a little bit about the significance of fifth tracks on Taylor albums?
Yeah, so for Swifties, they're aware of this. This is something that I was taught by the Swiftie community. Track 5 is a very important song on every Taylor Swift album. It's a deeply personal song to her. It's usually one of the most emotional songs she has on her albums. She claims that initially this was just sort of a coincidence. She didn't realize that she was putting that out there, where each one happened to be a very emotional song for her. But once her fans kind of brought this to her attention, she kind of doubled down on that and decided to make it a tradition, and has now for many, many albums. And so every track 5 is a deeply personal album, a deeply personal song. And it's, I think, a cool thing that we can use to let our audience know a little bit more about ourselves as well, which is why I came up with the idea.
Well, it was your idea, and you are our guest of honor. Do you care to pick the first favorite fifth track?
Yeah, so my favorite fifth track, I should say, is "You're on Your Own, Kid" by off of the Midnight's album. I love this song. I think it's such a beautiful expression of exactly the thing that I was talking about that I got sucked into Taylor for, because it's this linear journey of her throughout her life, where she pinpoints in each phase of the song the thing that she thought mattered the most in that moment, and how she progressed past it and realized a bigger goal of hers, as she says in a different song. And I just find it incredibly moving, because at the end of the day, it lands on this really powerful emotional note of saying that, like, she was always on her own, going through this experience, supporting herself through it, and making it to the other side each time. And I find that to be incredibly moving and motivational. And there's been times over the last year and a half since I learned of this song's existence that it really was sustaining for me. So it's without a doubt my most personal song. So I had to pick it.
Oh, love that. Great pick. Glad we kicked it off with you. Let's throw it over to Leah. Leah, do you have a favorite fifth track?
Okay. So we're doing favorites, not best. I think All Too Well is the platonic best, but I am picking My Tears Ricochet because I would like to use this as a platform to talk about how I think this is a song about Avengers Endgame.
Yes. You came to the right podcast, Leah.
Yeah. So I don't, we could talk about this for a lot of songs. James Hibbard asked and proved or confirmed that some songs off of Reputation were inspired by Game of Thrones characters. So ever since then, I've been like really activated to figure out like what's she binging. And there's some that are very obvious. Lavender Haze is a phrase she got from Mad Men. But with folklore, I was really looking at the final season of Game of Thrones, which will hopefully come up later. And My Tears Ricochet, which I think is about Tony Stark. Genuinely. And I love the idea of her watching that and just being like, oh, we gather stones, never knowing what they mean. Yep, got it.
Wow.
Sold.
Yeah.
Sold.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I know that's a little bit of a cheat because I know Folklore is she's not writing about herself with that one. But I do really like it.
I
In
can't
addition
wait
to my crackpot theory.
I got to revisit the lyrics. That's unbelievable. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's throw it over to one of our fellow Swiftie podcasters, Meg. Do you have a pick for us?
I do. Can we double up on these? Or do I have to pick?
So if your favorite's already taken, feel free to shout it out again. But then give us your backup answer, just so we can get a larger cross section.
Sure. So my first pick was also You're on Your Own, Kid, particularly if you have not watched or heard her performance of it from the Eras tour. It's very, very special and very, very emotional and makes me cry every time. Literally every time I've seen it. So another track 5 that kind of really gets me is White Horse. It's a tough song and it's really hard to listen to, but I think those songs are really important. To listen to songs like that maybe like deal with topics you don't want to think too deeply about, but like Taylor Swift is very much like, but you should think about it anyway because it matters.
Well said. Taylor invites us to feel things across a broad spectrum of feelings. Great pick. We'll throw it down to Maria for the sake of switching it up. Maria, do you have one for us?
So let's see. My best track 5 is going to be All Too Well. It's most certainly also my most favorite Taylor Swift song, particularly the 10-minute one, which is the one I really heard first, I would say, because I sort of my experience was, my friend getting me hooked on, and then Allie sort of training me as the Taylor versions came on and sort of giving me this thing. But I think one of the reasons why I love it so much is I really like sort of cliche but catchy, but also very like impactful lyrics and poems. And so like I'm like a huge fan of like kind of like cheesy Twitter poetry, because sometimes I think it's cheesy, but it might really express something very serious. And I think All Too Well is a really great example of her really clever writing. And I think there's some of these really amazing lines that she says in this song. I kept pulled up the lyrics here to make sure I quote everything correctly, because I don't want to embarrass myself. But like, things like, you call me up again just to break me like a promise, so casually cruel in the name of being honest. And like, that's such a statement. And I feel like the whole album, Red, just feels to me very much like what it was like to be young and be in these relationships and all of these emotions that come from it. And so there's just, I don't know, I just think it's a really great example of some of her really clever songwriting.
Excellent pick. Irrefutable, I would say. Love that. And great quote pick too.
Oh, yeah, thank you. My favorite.
Yeah. And you had to read it because Swifties will pick up pitchforks. They will.
Oh,
These
yeah.
torches.
Oh, yeah. Oh no! If I
aware.
misquote it, even to my friend Allie, she'll come after me. So I make sure to do it right.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, Davor, you're up. What do you got for us?
So I would have also gone with All Too Well, but in the interest of shouting out something else, I will go with Back to December off Speak Now. I think that's a track 5. Is that a track 5? I'm bad with the early ones.
No, that's not a track 5. Dear John is track 5 on that album.
Dear John is the track 5. Okay, in that case, let me shout out So Long London. Let's pick the most current track 5. I think that's a really good one. I mean, I think it's admittedly somewhat on the nose in terms of like subject matter. Yeah. But I do think it's a really beautiful song that's about like, both a sort of farewell to a relationship, but then also like a farewell to a place. It's sort of like a bookend if you go all the way back to Lover with like, with both the songs like Cornelia Street and London Boy, which are also about pairing as sort of like this relationship with a particular place. And then you sort of like end that with saying you're saying farewell to this person, but then also saying farewell to a location that had a certain sort of significance in that relationship. So yeah, I think it's a really good one.
Excellent pick and excellently justified considering you were reaching for a third option there. Yeah, brilliantly done. Like a true Swiftie. For fear of not doing as well as you did, I'm going to selfishly go next and then hand it to Randy to give his and take us into the rest of the draft. For me, it is Dear John. I'll happily take that. And the reasoning is simple. It's fuck John Mayer. Randy, what's your pick?
Perfect choice, Kris. Listen, I love all the flavors of Taylor Swift. I think there's a flavor of Taylor Swift for every occasion. But if I'm going to go and be honest and listen to my gut, I really love like the poppy Taylor Swift, the crowd pleasing Taylor Swift. The Reputation album goes so hard. I think if anyone were trying to get in, I would tell them to start there. And once you're hooked, you might sit with some other songs. So I'm going to go with Delicate. Not only is that song like just so incredible, but like when you listen to that album and you've heard so many like bangers in a row, and then somehow Delicate is still yet another one. I'm here for it. I love that flavor. And that's the gateway drug, in my opinion. Reputation for someone getting into Taylor right now.
Well said, bud. Well said. Great pick.
I want to thank everyone for taking some time to get into some of these Taylor Swift songs that mean a lot to them. And this is the point in time where we're going to transition to the draft, but we can't have a draft without a draft order. And guess what? We just made it. We are going to be drafting alphabetically by our track 5 picks, with 2 exceptions. This idea comes from the mind of Alex Marcus, who ran this idea by me. And I said, hey, that's great, but how can we do this in a genuine manner if you and I know the trick going into the exercise? So I said, I know, I will give Kris a meaningless task to do during the introduction. So I said, Kris, in the first 30 seconds or 1 minute of the podcast, can you name drop any 2 Taylor Swift songs that you want? It doesn't matter which songs they are. And then I asked Alex before the podcast, do you want whatever the first mystery song is or whatever the second mystery song is? So the first song you name dropped was Shake It Off, which is my song. The second one was Cardigan, which is Alex's song. So our final draft order is as follows. We are going to have Maria with the number 1 overall pick, with All Too Well. We're going to have Alex with the number 2 overall pick with Cardigan. We're going to have Kris as the 3rd pick with Dear John. Leah is the 4th pick with My Tears Ricochet. I am the 5th pick with Shake It Off. Davor is the 6th pick with So Long London. And Meg is the 7th pick with White Horse. But man, I love to pick on the turn, so I'm a little bit jealous of Meg's position, especially with all the great tracks out there.
You tricksy hobbitses. I didn't know what you were up to. This was brilliantly devised. Well done.
Yes, thank you for that great idea, Alex. That was a fun way to get us into this exercise.
Okay, well, with all of that settled, it's time to draft. Maria, you're first on the clock. Please register the first overall pick.
Okay. My first overall pick is going to be Blank Space. So I love this song. One, it has all the kind of like, the catchy lyrics that I like. And I really love the music video. The music video just really is exciting and fun. And I feel like I can relate to it in a lot of ways. The crying, screaming, perfect storm, that kind of thing. And she like throws the thing, and like that kind of like I don't know, that kind of insanity that comes out of when you love somebody a lot and you just kind of don't know how to control yourself when you're upset. And so I love this song. I think the imagery in the music video is a lot of fun. I think the beat to that song is great. I really love the live recording of her in Australia. I think it's Australia, where she has the which I know is part of it, but it's like a particular recording that I'm thinking of, where she in the golf club and she's beating out the beat and stuff like that. And so I just think it's a lot of fun. I think it's just a certain level, a certain kind of emotion that I just can really relate to a lot. And it's, I don't know, it's just it's a good bop.
Killer first pick, Maria, but I just need to know, which category are you drafting Blank Space into? That was near the top of my list as well, so I'm a little bit bummed, but
I'm sorry. That's my best single.
Love that. Excellent pick. Thank you for kicking us off with an absolute banger. Spoiler alert, there aren't a lot of non-bangers available to draft tonight, but you picked a great one to start.
Oh, thank you.
Very, very good. Well, with the first pick in, I will turn it over to Alex. Marcus.
I am so excited to have the second pick because I thought for sure I wasn't going to be able to draft this song. And I have a whole thing about why this song is the single best Taylor Swift song, because I believe it is the encapsulation of all of the things that she does well. And that song is Cruel Summer off of the Lover album. I'm going to be drafting it as best single. And it is both a falling in love song, which she is obviously well known for, but yet there is this like melancholy, tortured relationship story built into it, where she is constant. You hear the song and you're like, you hear how much she loves this person and how clearly it's not going to work out, because clearly she's hiding things from him. She doesn't feel like she can be honest around him. She has to project this fantasy of who he wants her to be. That it's all of the failings of this eventual relationship is built right into the foundation, and she knows it, but she can't quite avoid it because she loves him so much and is so infatuated with him. He looks like a devil, right? It's like she can't help herself. And also killer bridge, iconic bridge, which is a huge part of the Taylor Swift experience. Incredible like pop sound, right? It just sounds like an incredible pop single. Which is huge for her. And also, it has very specific lyrical storytelling where you feel like you are really seeing inside of individual scenes. And that's something that she does so well throughout her discography. So I think that because of all these reasons, it might not be the best single song in terms of overall quality of song, but it is absolutely the most Taylor Swift song that exists. And that's why I'm so excited to pick it with my first pick in the draft.
Alex, I'm never not sold on a thing after you finish speaking. No matter what degree of sold I was before you start, I'm always sold when it's all said and done. Absolutely great pick and well explained. Cruel Summer.
And I just want to shout out, Alex, a song that features a contribution from my girl Annie Clark, aka Saint Vincent, who once performed a song on stage with Taylor Swift and my favorite artist, Beck Hansen. During the 1989 tour, they performed Beck's song Dreams. So
and
it's like the stars colliding.
Speaking of live performances, I mean, she kicks off this the Eras tour with Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince, but that's the opening, and then straight into Cruel Summer. And that moment where she says, like, I know you all know this bridge, prove it. And it's like such an awesome way to kick off that whole experience. And it's so fun. And yeah, so another reason why I love it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, it's to me now with the third pick, if I'm doing this right. And I also am shocked. I didn't think I would be able to get my number one overall pick with my first pick, but stoked to take the best breakup song with my first pick. And it will be, sorry, Maria, All Too Well, the 10-minute version. There's a nice draft for me that wanted, when you said it was your favorite song, wanted to leave it for you. There is a well-coached Taylor Swift fan who worked diligently with his wife on this draft. And given the opportunity to take this one, I just had to do it. You said it before, this is pure poetry. This song is heartbreak incarnate. you could just sit with the words without music.
Oh,
You
yeah.
could just sit with the words and be
Mhm.
moved.
Mhm.
But then on top of that, it's the kind of song that makes you want to learn every one of those words so you can sing it along with her, right? My
Oh, yeah.
wife took me through her first time hearing it and needing to just stop and rewind and couldn't even get through it the first time because she just needed to wait, what was that again? And go back and listen and re-listen. So yeah, really thrilled to be able to secure the 10-minute version of All Too Well with my first overall pick.
Breaking my heart. Breaking my heart.
So Taylor will do that.
I love the part of this song where she says, like, you kept me like a promise, but I kept you like an oath. Like, just absolutely in
Oh.
one lyric, you understand everything about that relationship and why it was doomed to fail. It's just like
Oh.
perfect.
And I love how it just keeps going. Like you think it's coming to an end, and then there's a whole nother section that's coming out from it. And it's like this roller coaster of emotion. It's amazing.
Well, it's like when you think a cry is over, like you think you've gotten to the end of it, and then like it's more fervent than it had been to begin with, right?
Oh yeah.
And I also love, I can't not, I'm sorry. I also love the part where it's so like you're getting sucked into the story of this romance, right? The details of it, all of this stuff. And you're like, wow, that was really tough. There's so many things. He seems like a jerk. Okay. And then you just keep listening. And then finally, like they get to that point where she says, her dad tells her that it's supposed to be fun turning 21. And you're like, fuck, she's so young. And that's so, and it just hits you. And she knows exactly what she's doing. And it's perfect.
Yes. Yeah. It's my favorite. Like when I tell my husband, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go take a quick shower. It's my like timer. So I put that song on and it's how I time my quick shower. And it's like, it's my moment. It's like my alone time, you know, and I'm just like screaming it at the top of my lungs, you know, in the shower. And but you know, it's the perfect amount of time. And I'm like, okay, got through. It's good.
So-
Taylor Swift carried me through this.
That's so good. Well, thank you. Glad to again have gotten this with my first pick. Leah, on to you for your first pick of the draft.
Oh boy. I feel like I have like no sense of what songs are going to be, like which ones I need to protect, which is kind of fun and scary. Okay. So all right. I'll stay on theme and I will choose my best single. Okay, so for my first pick, I'm going to choose off of Red, an album I don't know all too well. We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together for my best single. You know, I think this was sort of pre her 1999 was her like pop turn, right? Yeah, and
Yeah, I think
but this is a fairly poppy song, and I know I just said that Ryan Adams singing 1989 made me angry because people were suddenly appreciating her because a man was singing her songs. However, I would be very, very remiss if I, as a Broadway person, a theater kid, a theater adult, didn't mention that Broadway's Aaron Tveit, like singing this song at concerts quite frequently, does a very joyous cover of it that sort of got me on board. Check it out. It's a dream.
For me, I love the pick simply because of just how literal and straightforward the song title sounds. It's unlike the way Taylor normally titles a song. It's not poetic. It's an excellent song title. Unique amongst the rest, I think.
So sassy. Like I just the idea of that you can just, I don't, you know, if you've ever experienced that thing where you're just like, you know, ew, no.
Yeah.
And it's I just love it.
I like when sometimes she would add a British accent when she was doing the phone call, but sometimes not. You know, it doesn't have to be any particular person.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. All right. Excellent pick. Moving right along. Randy, already over to you with the fifth pick. My gosh, what's it going to be?
So listen, I am a high school teacher. I work with teenagers every day. And I told you earlier how moved I was that one of my students considers Taylor Swift a role model. And she has shouldered just so much bullshit. I really feel like she deserves, certainly she's not alone. There are so many performers and artists and heroes out there. But just Taylor Swift has really confronted these negative and controlling narratives that people have always tried to put on pop starlets. So I'm going to draft with that in mind, and also with my anxiety in mind and my draft strategy in mind. Because I love the From the Vault tracks. I think they're great. I think I could go deep on them. I think if I waited till the end of the draft, I could still get a song that I loved. But there's one that's not my favorite Taylor Swift song, but still pretty high on my list. It's a bop that I said that I love. And I am going to draft I Can See You, a From the Vault track off of Speak Now. And I just love this sense of like confidence and empowerment in this song. It's an incredible bop, and I don't have to sit looking at my list worrying about vault tracks and how quickly they're going to fly off the board. So I Can See You is my number one overall pick.
I really like that choice. I love that that is a song that is really her just taking her sexuality and not being afraid to inject that into a song. I think early on in her career, she was a little bit afraid to go that far. I mean, maybe because that wasn't where she was at. And I think also there was that sort of image that she was very protective of. And I think it's interesting that this is a vault track because it definitely suggests, you know, a meta narrative that it was a song that she could write at that time, but maybe didn't feel like she could release for a variety of different reasons. And I love that she got to the point where she could then release it.
Absolutely.
Great lens through which to look at those bonus tracks or vault tracks, rather. Things that maybe she wrote at the time but couldn't release at the time. That's really, really well said. I love that. Okay. Moving on down the list, it's our 6th overall pick. Davor, coming at us. What have you got?
All right. So for my first overall pick, I got to go to best bonus track because I got to have this song on my list.
Okay.
So it's got to be on my list. And one of my hobby horses is the travesty that New Romantics was a bonus track on 1989. Because when we did our episode, when we were ranking Taylor Swift songs, I put New Romantics as number 1 because I genuinely think it is the best Taylor Swift song. I cannot believe that this song is not on the main list for 1989 because it is just so good. It is just like pure Taylor Swift, like effervescent pop. It's this sort of like girl power anthem. It's got, you know, like we show off our different scarlet letters. Trust me, mine is better. Like so good and such a fun song to listen to. So yeah, I got to have this one on my list.
This pick, first of all, great pick. Love that you went right for the bonus tracks. Love that it was something personal, and it really reveals the way this draft might be unique to other drafts that we've done on the pod, in that Taylor is a very personal experience. Like they're the songs that you might consider to be like the Mount Rushmore of Taylor Swift songs. It may not even be in somebody else's top 5. Because their experience is so personal. Really great pick, and what a great example of the artist that she is and how she affects us.
Yeah, that was really high on my list as well, Davor. Like English teacher brain here. Any Scarlet Letter reference is always going to hit me, whether that's in a broadly cultural sense. But the reason I think it matters to Taylor Swift is when people recall being forced to read a book that, you know, is a bit of a snooze fest, even I'll admit it. We talk a lot about like the shame put on Hester Prynne through the Scarlet Letter, but I think sometimes people forget that she completely changes the meaning of the letter in the eyes of everyone else in the community by the end of the book. They no longer think it stands for adulteress. They think it stands for angel or something else. So for Taylor to control her narrative makes that lyric hit me really hard.
You English teacher, you. All right.
That's the brand, baby.
That's
I would
the
never
brand,
forget
baby.
that because I have seen Easy A.
Yep. We all have to be educated somehow and somewhere.
It's another
Starring famous friend of Taylor Swift's, Emma Stone, might come up later in this draft.
Yeah, another great way to get that message, Leah. I endorse it.
All right. Throwing it now to Meg. Meg, you're picking on the turn. You get to pick twice now, the 7th overall pick and the 8th. What are you going with?
Look at me. Here we are. I've had a lot of time to think about what I'm going to go with first. And I'm also going to go for a vault track because I don't want to lose this one. And it's Say Don't Go. This song is a bop, as some would say. But it's also a song about someone saying, I am waiting for you to tell me that you want me to stay. And you're not saying that. And that's a problem. And how emotional is that if you're in that situation where you are waiting for someone else to say what you need to hear and what also they know they need to say, and it's not happening and you're not connecting on that level, and how frustrating that is. But also, it's a really great song.
Makes for great music, that kind of human messiness. I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic pick. I can't believe we have so many of the vault tracks going so quickly here.
I had to grab it.
I'm getting intimidated. I respect it. It's a great pull. Well played. What do you have for your second pick?
Well, somehow no one has picked Love Story yet as a single, as best single. So I'm going to take that one because, first of all, I have really good memories of me being in high school and my group of friends, someone's parent was driving us somewhere and Love Story came on the radio. And I'm sure a scream singing that song in the car all the way to wherever we were going was absolutely awful. But this is like Fearless was when I really first got into Taylor Swift, and I watched that music video for Love Story so many times, and it's a classic. It is a Taylor Swift classic, and I had to have it.
Well, it's yours. Well picked. You're off to a great start.
The thing that I think is the sweetest about Love Story, which is an iconic song, is just that, like, you know, picturing like teenage Taylor Swift in her room writing, like, I can improve Romeo and Juliet by making it a happy ending.
Yes.
And then I feel like being vindicated because, you know, generations of people now love that song. So.
Yeah, it was the kind of pick where you said the song name and every muted head on the Zoom nodded like, oh, yeah.
I don't know if that hurts English teacher Randy's soul a little bit for me to say that, but I mean,
no, of course not.
All right. Well, it's a snake draft after all, so we're heading back up the ladder. Davor, it's back over to you.
All right, so I'm going to go with another Davor pick here. So I'm going to go to best self-reflection song, and I'm going to pick Peter off Tortured Poets Department.
Nice.
So I love this song. This is one of my favorite songs off this album. So Taylor has used the Peter Pan Wendy allegory a couple of times in a couple different songs, but I think nowhere more effectively than in this song, which I think this is just like it's like a simple but also just like very like beautiful and heartbreaking song that I think you can interpret in a lot of different ways. Like you could interpret it as being about a friendship, or that she's singing it about somebody else, like to somebody else. You can interpret it internally, like she is singing it about like to her younger self, right? But it's this story of like, we went our separate ways and we promised that we were going to kind of link back up, but then life happened and we sort of just went off and that never really happened. And again, I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can understand that as something about another person, as something external, or about something to herself, internal. So I love that element. I love the sort of like the element where, you know, she's like, forgive me, Peter, right? So it is framed in this language of like an apology to someone or to herself. So yeah, I have to take this one.
Brilliant pick. I'm a sucker for a Peter Pan Wendy reference. And yeah, I mean, to be a Swift fan is to appreciate a whole lifetime of writing music and these little devices and characters that recur. It's a great celebration of that. Great pick.
I'm a sucker for a waltz. That's one of the reasons I love that song, is that it's in 3.
1, 2, 3s. Gotta love them. All right, English teacher Randy, back to you. What's it gonna be?
I'm really kind of in pain over here because I'm once again, like, I've got like the pragmatic side of my brain trying to anticipate which categories might empty out first. And I don't know why I'm torturing myself over it so much. I am such a tortured poet over here.
Do it.
Right. Because we could go so deep in every category. I still have some favorites on the board. And it might be a little bit presumptuous of me to hope that any of those are still going to be around if I let it come back to me again. But I think right now I'm on a trajectory where I could potentially get what I think is a powerhouse song in each category. So I got my vault track. I'm gonna dip into the vocal collaborations. There are a bunch of these that I love. Some of them that I love on a deeply personal level. Some of them that I think are just catchy. And I'm gonna go with the one that works best for me as a true collaboration, right? So in these collabs, Taylor is often working with artists that I have a ton of respect for, who I really appreciate. I'd love to see her branching out and working with some other folks. But even like some of the songs with my favorite lyrics, it just kind of feels like Taylor takes a turn singing, someone else takes a turn singing. Like it doesn't always strike me as like synergy. But the one where it might be the only Taylor Swift song where I feel like the song is better because it's a collaboration is going to be Endgame off of Reputation. Thematically, I feel like Taylor's at like the height of her confidence. I think that song is incredibly catchy. I feel it. And we get both Ed Sheeran and we get Future coming in, and I love the synergy between those three. It works for me. I feel great about having it at the top of my collab list, and I'm gonna grab Endgame.
I did not think that's where you were going.
Not at all. I feel relieved because I thought you were going to pick mine and you didn't, so I'm happy about that. But
I almost did.
Nice. I like that this song exists because I feel like this is the only time in the history of music that these three people would have recorded a song together. So it's nice that that was documented.
And for me, it works, man.
Excellent pick. And yeah, it's so weird. I thought you were describing my song, but then you weren't. So interesting.
Yeah, there are a few that come close in that category for me. But yeah, that's my fave.
All right. Very, very good. Passing it back to Leah, dead center in the draft.
Oh, God. I feel like I could disappoint all of you by picking the collab that I'm pretty sure like you were all just talking about. But I won't because I need to get my best breakup song on here. It is also a single. Mm-hmm. It is from Reputation. It is Getaway Car.
Yep.
I gotta have it. A song about Tom Hiddleston. Mine. A song with key changes that make me feel like I can do everything. I love it so much. And it's a good, as far as breakup songs go, it's sensible. You know what I mean? It's like we both knew where this was going, right? Mm-hmm. Come on. It's fine. It's good. It's good. We had fun.
That's a really good description.
With great imagery.
Yeah, breakups can be like that, right? This one immediately got moved into my wild card category as my first pick once I secured All Too Well for breakups. So I'm a bit devastated, but, happy for you mostly.
Yeah.
I love this song. I love this song so much. I think it's such an underrated Taylor Swift song. It's so like the lyricism is so fun. It so captures like specific moments in that relationship very well. And also like, even if you don't know anything about the relationship, it just evokes this really fun like dynamic that I love the back and forth. Like there's a moment in the Miss Americana documentary where we see her and Jack Antonoff writing the song together, and it's just so electric the way they're kind of like bouncing back and forth and they find it, and I love that moment too. So I love this song. It's great.
I'm excited and scared to see what they do with the re-release. Like genuinely.
Mm-hmm. I'm ready for it though.
I feel like Getaway Car is one of those songs that I don't always remember that it exists. Like I think Reputation is probably
for sure.
Yeah, and I all of a sudden, it will come on and I'm just like, why don't I listen to this song all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always catches me by surprise. I find it difficult sometimes. Like she's got so many songs that it all varies on, my mood and what's going on in my life and what I'm reading, what I'm watching, everything about what songs I'm listening to. So it's one of those songs that kind of is in the background, and then all of a sudden it comes on, and I'm like, wow, this is a really, really fun song.
Great track. You're lucky to have it. Leah, moving on. Okay. Back to me. My second overall pick, and I'm unsure of what to do here because I mentioned prepping with my wife. There was a number one pick that she felt strongly about was the right number one pick in the best falling in love song category. That's where I'm going to go next, but I'm not sure if that's what I want to do because there's one that's more personal to me. I'm afraid you all are going to veto it because it's not really a falling in love song, but it is to me. I'm going to pick with my heart and leave what I think is maybe the number one overall on the board. I'm going to pick Betty as my best falling in love song, which you would argue is not what the song is trying to communicate. But this song, Folklore, was also probably the deepening of my Swiftie fandom, like most of the folks on the call here. I'm a nerd. I'm a literary nerd, and like the beautiful poetry and literature, the storytelling of this album really sucked me in. But this was also during the pandemic. My daughter was 9 months old, and my wife and my daughter and I actually had like this really kind of euphoric period. I don't share this publicly often because it was such a tough time for so many people, but we were in our home where we had great comfort. Our like little 2-bedroom apartment that we were very, very happy in. And we spent so much time together. I was like mostly working remotely. My wife was also home, and we had our daughter, and we were all like, my wife and I were falling in love with each other all over again. We were falling in love with this new version of our family that included our wonderful, amazing daughter. And at 9 months old, she was starting to do some of just like the coolest stuff, including dancing around the kitchen to Taylor Swift. And I remember, I'm going to cry now. I remember just standing in the kitchen one night in our old apartment and just like weeping as I watched my wife and my daughter dance and twirl and sing to Betty. And so I will never not think of my wife and my daughter when I hear the song. I'll never probably not be moved to tears thinking about those days. So that's my favorite falling in love song.
I love that story, Kris. That was beautiful. I'm not the arbiter of what gets chosen here and like what the rules are exactly, but I think that it's totally fair to call it a falling in love song because it is about a breakup and then a coming back together. And if you follow the teen love story trilogy in Folklore, as you should, you know that is the moment when they really reconnected in a lasting way, which we learn about in Cardigan. But I think that it's fair to say that is a falling in love story.
Yeah. I had a category. Yeah.
You soft quoted it earlier, Alex, and I was scared you were going to take it from me before I got it. So I'm glad I snuck it in.
I do love it. I think it's one of her best songs. I think it's great. I love it so much. And I also like how like if you watch the Eras tour, it's a little bit of a different song with like the way that they do the instrumentation. They make it a little bit like more upbeat. And I also like that version of it too. I think it's a very it contains multitudes as a song.
Yeah.
And also just the opportunity of Taylor to write a song from a teenage boy's perspective. And like, it's very sweet. And also like some things there was just like, no teenage boy would say that, but the teenage boy of her dreams would. So, and that's very nice.
Yeah. There's a poet in his heart for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had it categorized as falling in love and a breakup, Kris. So fair game.
Fantastic. Thank you for the approval. I am relieved. Okay. Alex, we'll pitch it right back to you. What category?
So there's a lot of places I can go here, but I feel like personally, one of the most shallow categories is the best friends and family. And there are more than 7 that I like, but there's only one that I truly love. And that is 7, the song off of Folklore. I think that it's just, I love the idea of this song where she's singing about this relationship that she had with a friend as a child, that still holds such a strong place in her heart, even though this person is clearly part of her past. Like she has that lyric where she says, Like, even though I can't recall your face, I still got love for you. And that just like is a great kind of small way of capturing that weird thing that happens as you get older, right? She wrote this song when she was in her 30s. And like, as someone who is in my 30s as well, people from your past, like the emotions tied to them stay the same, maybe duller over time, but still the same. And yet the memories start to fade and get smaller and fuzzier and fuzzier. And you just realize that if you actually saw that person standing right in front of you, you might not recognize them anymore. And if you had to describe what they even looked like, maybe some of these people, it's hard to quite get there, but you have this whole world of connection with that person that meant so much in the moment, and it still exists. And I think she captures that feeling really well. And I love the way she's speaking oftentimes from that childlike perspective of like when she's talking about how she thinks that their friend's house is haunted and that's why her dad is always mad. It's just like very sweet and also very sad, because what she's actually talking about is kind of horrible, but also she finds a way to say it in such a beautiful way. So I really love the melancholy nature of it and like the devotedness of it and just the emotional earnestness of it. So I have to go there.
Such a great pick. I think for me, I mean, maybe we talked about this a little bit with the Eras tour and her ability to embody each of those eras so well. To be able to write with this kind of honesty, that bit you just described about like why your dad's mad, she is writing about something tragic, but that is also how 7-year-olds process that kind of stuff. And for her to be able to reach deep inside and write truth from so many different places it's just mind-blowing as an artist. Okay, I'm feeling like I need to come down from some of these picks after we've talked about them. But we are ready to go back to you, Maria, with your next pick.
Okay. Let's see. So I think I'm going to go with the best self-reflection song. And I'm going to go with Anti-Hero. Which I really, this song I think is really personal to me, because the first moment I heard this song, I just started crying, and it was very, very emotional. And it was something where I was like, I was going through a lot, my mom had passed away a couple years ago. And with that, I had gotten really sick. I had Guillain-Barré and I was like partially paralyzed. There was all these things going on in my life and it was just sort of out of control. And I just sort of felt like I was out of control, and I like was having a lot of trouble like regulating my own emotions and like my own depression and my own kind of stuff, and just sort of coming out of that, one of being like, oh wow, okay, so my depression is something that has been a part of my life, and I kind of now being forced to kind of face it. And the hi, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me. And because my name's Maria, my whole life people have always teased me with how do you solve a problem like Maria. And so this song just like kind of extra like dug its claws into me, where I was like, oh my God, I really am the problem, and
Oh,
so but I feel like there's like and also for her to be talking about that, because I feel like in her later albums she's really expressing a lot about how the pressures that of her level of stardom, and the the emotional, the how everybody is watching everything she does. And I'm sure there's so much baggage that has to come along with that. And I don't know, I think she reflected a very real feeling that women start to develop when they're in their late 30s. Some women, maybe not everybody, but where you just kind of suddenly break down, And so it's a deeply personal song to me. And every time I hear it now, and when I saw her perform it, I was just standing there in the rain, just like, crying in the rain. And it was a really powerful, cathartic experience for me.
Music is like magic in that way.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Great pick. Really, really great pick.
And it's a great song.
it's a great song. And I was just gonna say, it's so important that when we are going through these things, that we can find ourselves reflected in the art that's out there, right? That we can feel vulnerable with somebody else. And like, she's such a powerful artist in that, right? Because she's so willing to be vulnerable for her fans. Right. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's I think that's one of the fun parts about pop music. Sometimes, like, some of the best pop music, I think, is when you're talking about something really serious and really sad, but it's put to kind of a like fun dance beat, because you go to like, you go out places and stuff and there's these remixes of it and you're dancing to it. But at the same time, it's sort of this, it's deeply personal song.
It's self-reflective for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think about these lyrics all the time, especially like she's been on this Eras tour journey that has finally come to an end, right? But it went on for so long. It took up 2 years basically. And just before that, she releases this album Midnights, where she talks about sometimes she feels like everyone is a sexy baby and she's a monster on the hill, too big to hang out, slowly lurching towards your favorite city. Like, she's literally describing what it's like to just like live on tour and feel like she can't like have a place. And then that's what she just spent the last 2 years doing. And you think like, wow, what that must be like. And then, but what I also really love, it's very easy to feel, at least for me, to feel a little bit a little sensitive, overly praising someone's vulnerability when they're putting it in a commercial art, because it's like, well, how much of this is performative? How much is this like I'm saying the thing that I think you'll want to hear? Because and Taylor puts that in the song, where she has like in the pre-chorus, like, did you hear my covert narcissism? I disguised as altruism, like some kind of congressman. Like, I think that's a really brave thing to put in a song like this, and it's also funny, which she can be sometimes very funny in her music, and I think that's one example.
Oh, I think she's wicked funny in her music.
Oh yeah, and I sometimes I try to argue with my husband and my friends that in a way there's parts of her that remind me, not in her personality, but that she reminds me of Morrissey a little bit. Because one thing with like Morrissey is that I think people don't realize that he's trying to be funny sometimes, and I think that that's sort of like very and self-reflective and making fun of where he is and what he's doing, and that he's famous. And I think that she does the same thing. And I think for her, even though she's writing the song, I think that must give her some like relief to be like, look, I know this is ridiculous, but I'm doing it, so the way it is.
Yeah. Maria, you're picking on the turn. You get to register another pick back to back.
Oh, geez. Okay. Oh my goodness, I wasn't prepared. Okay. I'm gonna go with best breakup song. I'm gonna go with Champagne Problems as the best breakup song. This is one of my favorite songs. I think again it shows some of her really clever writing styles, really clever rhyming, and just connecting images and things back and forth, like calling back to other parts of the songs, calling to other songs, and creating this great image of somebody proposing and everybody's there and you say no, and like that devastation, and the idea of somebody is just popping open the champagne bottle and pouring it out, and and I think when you talk about the problems that Taylor Swift has, they are kind of champagne problems, because she's she's one of the wealthiest women in the world, and what problems could she possibly have? And so, but I think it's a really it's a kind of ending to a relationship that's kind of sudden, I think, where people do get to that point where they're like, you know what, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. And everybody is sad. Everybody is hurt. And so I think it's a great song. And
great pick. It's a great pick. Thank you very much. All right. Alex.
Yes. Okay. So this is where it gets hard, because I had planned out my opening moves and it went perfectly, which is wonderful. And now I was like, and then we'll see what happens. And now I'm at the we'll see what happens phase. And so I have to decide. I have to make some hard choices. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to draft from the vault, and I'm going to go with Nothing New featuring Phoebe Bridgers.
Okay.
Now I know I could have picked that in collab, but I have confidence that my favorite collab is also going to be there. So I decided to go here, and this song I think is remarkable. She wrote this when she was, 21, 22 years old, and it's all about her, like, basically just the existential dread that keeps her up at night when she is no longer the beautiful ingenue, right? When her melodramatic tears stop being cute and start being pathetic, right? And I think that there's so much self-awareness, so much awareness of her place in culture and how the anxiety around that drives her, that it's a really, really interesting thing for her to put on an album that is from such an early part of her career, right? This isn't her in her Midnight's era looking back and thinking like, oh man, like this has been a struggle. This is her right at the start of things in a lot of ways, looking forward and seeing like, man, this is all what is it gonna be like when this all goes away? Because I'm a woman in this industry and I'm getting all of this praise because I'm pretty and I'm young, and isn't it adorable that I have these feelings in this guitar? But what happens when I'm nothing new, right? And I think that like there's a part of the song where she sings about what it would be like when the next version of Taylor Swift comes along. And I think about it all the time when it comes to like the Olivia Rodrigo stuff and everything like that, because it's just like, it would be very easy to look at how she may or may not have treated Olivia and the sort of like, is that a real celebrity feud or not? And just like think, well, she should be a bigger person and just not care about it. But when you hear how she was thinking about this as a young person, you realize how much of a struggle this must be for her. Like when she says, is like, I know someday I'm going to meet her. It's a fever dream, the kind of radiance you only have at 17. She'll know the way, and then she'll say she got the map from me, and I'll say I'm happy for her, and then I'll cry myself to sleep. It's like, and then we know that it like happened in a real way. Like she inspired so many of these young, new stars in pop culture. And yeah, she is on top, right? She is at the pinnacle, as she's as big as she's ever going to be, probably. But she knows that even at that moment, all these people are coming up beneath her and like ready to take her crown. And then what happens to her when she's gone, when she loses that? And I just think it's a really beautiful song. I think that the emotions behind it are really palpable. And as someone who's not in that specific situation at all, some of the lyrics just really speak to me. Like, how do you go from knowing everything at 18 to nothing at 22? Like, that's just a thing that I feel like we've all been through a couple of times over our life, so I just love this song. And I think it's well utilizes Phoebe Bridgers, who of course is, in some ways in that legacy as well. And so it does kind of, I think that she's very clever to use her in this song to speak to like, this is what I was worried about back then, but look, I'm being magnanimous. I'm including her. And it's like it's not just about me. It's about the whole industry. It's about the whole life cycle of a person. And so I think it adds like a cool meta layer that it is a shared song as well.
That was one of my top collab songs. So I'm a little hurt and sad that I don't have it, but I agree with absolutely everything you had to say about it. And I really think it's a perfect collab that she has there, and a very poignant song. And I think it's so poignant because of her age and when this album came out, and that level of like already realizing like, oh shit, someday I'm not going to be this person anymore, and how am I going to deal with that? And I think that's like you said, that's something we go through multiple times in our life.
Yeah, that was one of my other top collabs, and it's a beautiful song. But I also can't help but notice, Alex, are you trying to create scarcity at the position? Just curious.
You'll have to see my master plan when it's all come together.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it from the distance, the 1,000-foot view at the end. Excellent pick. All right, it's my turn again, and my draft is still going according to plan. To Alex's point, when you don't know the draft order ahead of time, it's sort of hard to game out the draft, to know what categories to prioritize. But there were 3 categories that I knew no matter what were going to be my first 3 picks. even if I had to switch which songs I ultimately chose within them. So I always knew that I was going to be looking to secure my best beef track with my third pick.
Nice.
And I'm once again sorry to do this to somebody on the pod. I had a nice walking conversation in Boston with Alex Marcus about the song Mean.
Yeah.
It's gotta be Mean, right? Not only was the song powerful and poignant and brave at the time, right? To respond so boldly and so openly to like such unfair hate from like grown men towards a teenage girl. But then to be able to validate that with a Grammy performance where you get to change the lyric and really drive it home. And then again, to be able to reflect back on a song like this from the other side of the Eras tour and wonder what those critics what does Triggerman feel like today, right? When she's the most famous person on the planet. I don't think there's a person who hasn't at least heard the name. What your opinion about that name is might vary based on how cynical, shitty you are or how optimistic and lovely you might be. But you know who Taylor Swift is. And so, yeah, I mean, this song stands in her whole pantheon as like just such a perfect example of the type of artist she is, the kind of place inside herself she can go when she's backed against the wall, and the bravery of the artist. So yeah, stoked to have Mean as my beef track.
That was one of the first songs that I was exposed to. One of my friends put it on a mixtape for us to like scream sing. Felt really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's somebody in our lives, right, who we just wish we could ask him, why do you have to be so mean? We're gonna show him.
And then I do love that, like, you know, she has this whole song about like, why are you so mean to me? And then she just absolutely annihilates him at the end of the song.
Yeah. I can be mean too, she says. Yeah. And then gets to drive it home again at the Grammys, like I said. Just so good.
And the Grammy performance is so fun. She's so proud of herself for that moment, as she should be, you know?
Yeah. All right. Very, very good. Thank you for the validation. Where are we? Oh, Leah, you get to pick again.
It's me. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of a gamble.
Nice.
Hi. I'm going to take a little bit of a gamble because I am feeling inspired by everyone's personal stories, and I have to pick my favorite song. I'm not going to actually let it be off of my list. So for my wild card song, I'm picking also off of Reputation, New Year's Day.
Nice.
This is my favorite. I think Please Don't Ever Become a Stranger Whose Laugh I Could Recognize Anywhere is her best lyric. And I like the storytelling of this song. I too am a person who does not care as much about the party or midnight, but I love the cleaning up with friends. I love the hangover breakfast the next day. Those are the memories that like have stuck with me. And it was like very surprising at the end of this like mean, you know, kind of in your face album to have this lovely little reflective song, falling in love song. I think it's good for the wild card because it's a little bit of everything. And then also with that line that I said, to be in a relationship and already anticipating the breakup, which you know Taylor Swift is doing 24/7, and it must be one of the most awful things about being her. Like, genuinely. And I think a lot of artists are like that, tragically. But it just says so much about her, and it's lovely. And I've done lots of like upbeat songs, so now I'll get a little bit moodier with this.
I love this song so much, Leah. This is like the first one that has gone off the board that hurts that I didn't get it, because I just love it so much. I love how simple it is. I love how beautiful it is. I love everything that you said about it. It's also one of my favorite of hers.
I'm glad you got one of your favorites. Everybody should on this board.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. All right, brother Randy, it's your turn again. Where are you going to take us?
You know, this is a rough one, because what I'm learning is that like my Swiftie fandom is largely existing in a slightly different realm than everyone else. I've got a lot of favorite songs that are still available. There's several of them that I want. So I'm trying to maybe prioritize the category that I'm the most interested in. There are two I'm really debating between right now, but I'm going to go with Karma from Midnight's. But I would like to categorize that in the self-reflection section. It's not the soft, reflective tone that you expect from a self-reflective song necessarily. There are a lot of great tracks that do that, and I am going to get to some of those eventually. But I really see the song, and I see sort of a new philosophy of someone who is just so confident in all the ups and downs they've been through, all the drama they've been involved with, all the drama that people around them have constructed for them that may not even exist. And that's the same confidence that we've seen her lead into, like throughout the Eras tour and all the subsequent times. So I think Karma, it's a simple concept, but I think it really represents this just sort of newfound confidence where she can step onto a stage and run the room. And it's also one of my favorite Taylor tracks overall. So Karma. It's a relaxing thought.
Yes, I was gonna say quotes from Karma live large in our household. we get to house sit my sister-in-law's cat once in a while, and when she is sitting on my lap, it's hard not to. Great pick. Glad you were able to get it for yourself. Yeah, I mean this draft is almost intimidating because there are too many to pick from. It's not a scarcity issue. It's almost like it's a burden of choice type of situation. So with that, Davor, the burden of choice is now on to you once again. What's your next pick?
All right. I am going to go to best vocal collab. So I want to make sure that I get this one. So I thought about this kind of on two ways. One, I try to think about a song that, I really enjoy, that is a personal favorite. And then also, much like Randy, I was trying to think about synergy of Taylor with other singers, because she's, her collaborators have sort of fallen on a spectrum where there's more synergy and then relatively less. Looking at you, Bon Iver. And so I think personally, her best vocal collaborator has been Ed Sheeran. And so I went with Everything Has Changed.
Nice.
Off Red. I mean, they've collaborated a couple times. You already talked about Endgame Off Reputation. They've done Joker and the Queen, which is one of his songs. They did Run, which is one of the vault tracks or bonus tracks. I don't remember exactly. But I really love Everything Has Changed. I consider this like my first Taylor Swift song, not in the sense of like the first Taylor Swift song I ever heard, but like the first one that I ever listened to, and I was like, oh, I get that. Like I understand like what she's singing about, like that. And so it's just like a really sweet and cute song about just like meeting somebody, and there's like a spark, and then all of a sudden this realization that like, oh, like everything is different now, like there was before I met you, and then there's after I met you. And if you haven't watched the music video for this song, absolutely do it, because it is adorable. So yeah, I'm taking Everything Has Changed.
It's an excellent pick. You can literally never go wrong with Ed Sheeran. Certainly not when you've paired Ed Sheeran with Taylor Swift. I was listening to a radio program one time. They introduced a song that was coming up next by the Ginge, Ed Sheeran. And I didn't like that personally with the red beard. But you can't go wrong with Ed Sheeran. Excellent, excellent pick. All right, Meg, you get to follow him right up. Once again, picking on the turn, you get back-to-back picks.
I was so afraid you were going to take mine. You were so close to taking mine.
Okay. I'm glad I did not.
On that note, I'm also going to do my collab. And speaking of Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran, I'm going to go with a Run. When I first heard this song, I was like, these two have done some pretty good music together before, but like there's something about this one that is just really, really good. And the chorus, especially when they're singing together, is just phenomenal. And I play it whenever I just want to feel something. I love it. So that's my collab.
Yeah, when they're singing in harmony, It's unbelievable. It is
Amazing.
so good. That's the first track to be pulled off of one of the top. Sorry to see that one go. Nice pick.
I'm really glad that you all like this song because I like this song a lot too. And I just heard it without any context, and I thought it was a really fun song. I love the lyrical back and forth between them, the way that's like put the picture in the locket and put it in my pocket, like all that. It's very cute. And then I learned that it's apparently like one of her least popular songs. I was like, what? I don't get that at all. So I'm
Tragedy.
very happy that on this podcast we're respecting it.
It
Good
deserves
group
all the
here.
respect.
All
And
of the
Sheeran getting a
respect.
lot of love on this podcast. I'm
Yeah.
a little surprised. All of his songs have been selected.
Well, Meg, you get to keep us rolling with your next pick.
Oh, it's me again. I'm starting to worry about some of mine. Oh, what do I want to go with now? Oh, all right. I'm gonna go with my friends and family pick, and I'm gonna take Marjorie. She wrote this about her grandmother, and I love this song, and I've always loved this song, and I was worried that when I lost my grandma that I wouldn't be able to listen to this song anymore. Thankfully, I waited a little while and I listened to it again, and I was like, yeah, no, this is still a great song, and I can listen to it, and it was actually very therapeutic, and I still listen to it, and now it has an even deeper meaning for me because I understand on a more personal level what she's talking about, especially when on the bridge, because all of her bridges are great. When she's talking about I should have done all these things, or I should have really appreciated all the time we had together, and I wish I had more of it, but we don't. It means a lot to me, and I like it.
So glad you got it on your board. We should all be able to get those really personal tracks. I can appreciate that feeling of like being not certain if we can sit with certain lyrics anymore after experiencing something in your own life. I'm glad you can still go back to this one and find a place of comfort. Davor, back to you, sir.
I'm gonna go to best beef track. So I think this would normally probably a lot of folks would classify this as a breakup song, but I'm going to argue it's a beef track Trojan horse in a breakup song, and that's Dear John.
Yes.
I think this is her beefing with this man. And I'm going with this song because he truly never recovered from it. It is just an absolutely brutal takedown of like her singing about how like she was 19 and this older guy was like taking advantage of her in this relationship. And like even just, in the whole run up to Speak Now Taylor's version, everybody was talking about like, oh, she's re-recording Dear John. Like that was the thing people were anticipating. And so, yeah, this is such a like, she's done a bunch of these songs that are like about, whether it's like All Too Well being about Jake Gyllenhaal or like this being about John Mayer. But like this one is just like, it's so no holds barred that, yeah, I'm picking it under the beef track category.
Absolutely valid. A phenomenal pick for a beef track, I think. I agree. This was a terrible look for John Mayer, and he is not fully recovered. You're more likely to see him on YouTube giving guitar lessons now than anything else. So great pick.
What can I say? One of my favorite things to do recently has been like YouTube has been just flooded over the last like 6 to 9 months of this person who wouldn't normally like Taylor Swift listens to her music, and turns out they like it. And one of my favorite versions of that is like this John Mayer fan listens to Dear John for the first time, and they start out always the same way, being like, yeah, I heard like she was young or whatever, but like, I mean, I really like his music and we all make mistakes. And by the end of that song, they're like, yeah, he's a fucking asshole. I can't, there's no defending this. This is terrible.
I need to find that content. That is excellent.
Yeah.
All right, Randy, it is your pick once again, my friend.
Ooh, all right. What am I going to do here?
And can I just say, wait, I have to interrupt you because we can't let the Dear John section go without mentioning that she completely constructs that song as a riff on Gravity, his most famous song. And it's just a beautiful, like, FU to him that it's like every time that like signature guitar riff from Gravity plays, it's just another like needle to him. And you're like, I can make a song even better than you using your own song. It's just, I love it. So it's such a great fuck you song.
Yeah, that's what really settles it in the beef track category. I think that's totally. All right, Randy, He bought you a little more time, but now you got to pick. What's it
All
going to
right.
be?
So there are so many great Taylor Swift songs, and like I said, I've been in the middle of a crash course. I've heard a lot of Taylor Swift songs for the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on times in the last couple of months. You can't commit to a favorite song, but like if someone asked me, like just sort of like gun to my head, what is your favorite Taylor Swift song? The one that I'm really feeling the most out of all of them right now is "Don't Blame Me" off of Reputation. Um, it's an incredibly engaging song. It gets, I guess I'm just gonna say soulful in a way that like a Taylor Swift song doesn't always get. I am fully sucked into the whole spirit and feeling. Now, the category. I am going to argue this is a falling in love song because there's nothing to say that falling in love is always completely healthy. There's nothing that says that's always going to end well. You know, love in this song is presented very much as an addiction. I suppose you could argue it's somewhat of a falling in lust sort of song. But all those pieces have to come together. They have to find their balance. I think it's further expanding upon that just sort of confidence in Taylor's self and her sexuality that I think is part of what's so important about her is someone out there. And it's my personal favorite. It's still there. I've been avoiding it all this time, so I've got to finally take it in best falling in love song.
Great choice. I love it. You know, it's funny. A lot of songs, love songs, are actually like codependency songs.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
not often the healthiest example of what it means to like care for another person or give them space in your life. But even when Taylor trends in that direction, she masks it so well in just like beautiful poetry. It's so heartbreaking or heart swelling that you think more tragic poet than like love sick child. She's brilliant.
And when she goes for the gospel, like she hits that in a way that I think people didn't think she could back when Reputation came out. And I think that's something to be said too. And if you've ever watched like the clips from the Rep tour live, like it's even better live.
I have not, I don't think, caught a live recording of that. Now I'm going to have to. Leah, it's your turn again.
Okay, well, speaking of toxic falling in love songs, I'm going to choose in that category for myself off of Midnight's Mastermind. I'm back to upbeat. This is an absolute bop. I think it's another like New Year's Day. It's the last song on the regular album, and it kind of gobsmacked me a little bit. I think it's a really nice companion to Invisible String from Folklore because, you know, Invisible String, she's like, oh, isn't it so nice? It's like we were fated to be together. La, 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 la. Mastermind's like, no, fate's bullshit. I manipulated all of that. I was in charge. And then at the end, the person's like, no, but also I knew it. And I wanted that to happen. We were manipulating each other. It's beautiful. And that's like, you know, that's your Andrew Scott breaking the fourth wall on Fleabag little moment in a Taylor Swift song. It's romantic in its own like twisted little way. I love it.
Sold. You just Alex Marcused that explanation.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes, I am sold. Great pick. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how many songs are now starting. I was feeling so secure. Now I feel like things are slipping fast. Mastermind is gone. Okay. It's my turn again. And this is going to be my first moment to pivot from the original strategy. I thought I knew what my fourth overall pick category would be, but now vocal collabs became a battleground. I know a lot of folks have secured them, but there's enough folks left to pick that I feel like I want to secure this category. Although I think at least Davor and I differ on this because I think where I hear synergy in a vocal collaboration, voices that complement each other very, very well, and the way that they share the track is also like makes the collaboration worth it as they tell different sides of or different perspectives of the same story. I'm going to pick Exile featuring Bon Iver. It's also one of the few songs that like I get to sing along to in like my more natural register and like really feel like I'm participating. So yeah, I'm really stoked to have this. I don't know how anyone else feels. His voice does a thing to me on the track, and the way it contrasts with hers is really, really beautiful as you get like the male perspective and the female perspective in the story that they're telling there. So yeah, I had it on my list within breakup songs. Even if folklore is all, technically fictional, but really stoked to have it in collaboration.
A song that might be about Jon Snow. I'm not saying it's not, but it might be.
I do want it.
Nothing left to say. You nailed it. Okay.
No, Kris, love that track as well. I also got lots of input from my wife, who is a true Swiftie. That's one of her favorite tracks. We both like it. As for the collab, I think the voice works for me better on Exile than on Evermore. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah, maybe it's the nature of what they're singing for Exile that makes it work so well. It's very breathy. All right, Alex, your turn.
Okay, so now I'm starting to get nervous about vocal collabs, so I'm gonna go there next. And I'm gonna pick a song that I don't know if it's a great a collaboration necessarily, but it's one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs, period. And it's Coney Island, featuring The National. I don't know really The National's music outside of their collaborations with Taylor Swift, which I'm sure makes me very lame amongst them, like dadcore, whatever. But I do really love this song. I think that it features some of like my favorite imagery of Taylor Swift. That it has this great lines of, because we were like the mall before the internet. It was the one place to be. The mischief, the gift wrap, suburban dreams. Sorry for not winning you an arcade ring. Like that is iconic. Period. So excellent job there. But the heart of the song is that kind of conflict of I love you so much and yet I never put you first. Right? I put you behind my career. When I got into the accident, I saw your face, but when I got up to the podium, I think I forgot to say your name. Like, I really think it's a song that made me consider probably hard to be in a relationship with Taylor Swift, even when she really loves you a lot, because there's always going to be something second, and that's her career, as it should be, but that's complicated. And I think that as someone who always personally struggles with how to find a way to make my needs important and also value other people's needs, that's a tension in my relationships. I tend to do the opposite. I tend to make myself smaller and them bigger, and that's a problem that I'm working on in therapy. But this gave me like the other side of the coin in a way that I feel like made me empathize with it in a deeper level. And I just think that the lyrics are just beautiful on top of it. Like you could just so clearly picture the moment of her sitting on a bench in Coney Island, just self-reflective. It's a cold day, the wind is blowing. She's in her feelings. Like you just feel it as you're listening to the song. It just evokes an image so perfectly.
Great pick. I think one truth we're probably dancing around a little bit here is that if you're doing it right, listening to Taylor Swift is a little bit like therapy.
I think, well, yeah, her songs do sometimes come up in my therapy sessions, so I guess that is accurate.
And she is on record as saying she doesn't need it because she's sane.
She's also on record as being afraid that they're going to come take her away. So
yeah, very true. And also, I wouldn't trust another person if I was as famous as her, honestly.
Oh, that's fair. She contains multitudes. And I'm sure she feels like the writing itself, the process, the self-reflection is a therapy. It's her version of doing the work, so to speak. All right. Maria, I can't believe we're back to the top of the list. You're picking on the turn, so you get back-to-back picks here to register your fourth and fifth picks.
Wow. Okay. I've had a lot of my favorites picked here. So let's see. I'm gonna have to. All right. So I'm gonna go with my my best beef song right now, and maybe maybe it wouldn't come across as a beef song, but I kind of think it is. I'm gonna go along with "So Long London" as a beef song, because I feel like,
Mhm.
she was in this relationship for kind of a long time, and like also like through the pandemic, which I think altered everybody in a way, and um, it sounds to me in this song like she was really genuinely kind of shocked by the ending of this relationship, that it didn't go at all the way that, like, ended the way that she thought it was going to. And I think that it's I don't know. It's like a very kind of clear, like, I really loved this place. I really loved my life here and the idea of what this was going to be, but it didn't turn out that way. So, so long London. And I don't know, I just when I first time I heard it, I felt like I was like, wow, this hurts a little bit. I can't imagine being on the kind of on the other side of that a little bit. So yeah, we'll go with that. All right, I guess I'm gonna have to grab my best vocal collab since it seems like everybody has taken all of my favorites. So let me look over my list here. I'm gonna go with sort of I think that's not really a main, like, kind of on the top thing, but I'm gonna go with "I Bet You Think About Me" with Chris Stapleton. I think
Stapleton, yeah.
Stapleton, yeah. And I really didn't know. I don't listen to a lot of country music, so I don't really know too much about him, but I really love his voice on this track. I really love their how they sound together, and I really love when Taylor Swift returns to her country roots. Like, I'm not anti-country, but I don't really listen to a lot of it. But the country, when I like country songs, I really like them, and they really,
Mhm.
it's, I stick with it kind of thing. But it depends on the song, and um, I really like the momentum of the song. I really like how it builds, and it's sort of soft. I bet you think about me, and then the end of it where she's just like letting it rip. And naming off all of course, I just like this thing, um, of all of the different things, and going, this, I don't know, just really getting kind of angry about it, and I can just really feel that kind of anger that she's expressing there. I think it's not a song that's often talked about. I think really everybody kind of goes with the Ed Sheeran songs and the National and stuff, and I'm like, but there's this really great song at the end.
I love that song. That song is so fun. I love I love the laugh that she has when she says
Yes.
that you're dating this girl that I'm sure your friends think is much better than me is wonderful. It's so sassy
Yeah.
and fun. And it's your, $1 million couch and your organic
Couch, yes,
shoes. It's just such a read. Just absolutely. I know All Too Well is like, wow, he put her through the ringer and is a bad dude, maybe. But this song is just an absolute read on him. Just like you can't even show your face after this song.
Right. It's sort of, just feel like it's like, just imagine it. Like, when I think about the song and think about like how I would put this if I was in a story kind of thing, I just can imagine like people being at sort of a party and sort of coming back up to each other, and just this other person just being like, oh yeah, well, how about this, and just laying it out, total embarrassing this other person and making, everybody know their true colors.
And not to like psychoanalyze her too much, but it is interesting how often that recurs in her like songs about love is the idea that like it seems like she already knows that her relationships are doomed to fail, but what matters is if they'll remember her after she's gone. And then if you think about how that might interact with her relationship with her fans and her music and her legacy and wanting to be relevant as long as possible, like all of that is kind of mixed in a way that I think is very interesting and insight into her as a person.
Well, and I think she had some really, I think when her career started, it was such like a kind of an aggressive start, and she ended up in these relationships that were really just, were in hindsight kind of, problematic, and that has to leave a long, a impression on you, and that did make her really not trust other people. And you can sort of see that theme coming up a lot. And I think when she's in relationships, she really does sort of is always, I don't know if she's intentionally looking for, because I don't know her personally, but it almost seems like she's always looking for the fault. We all have that friend who's just constantly like, I like this guy, but he did this thing. And then they just start looking for all the things. And I sort of feel like maybe she's a little bit like that.
Yeah. And like, I don't want to burn other songs, but there's like a couple of them that speak so interestingly to this like progression, like where you go from this song to like Wildest Dreams, where she's kind of romanticizing the end before it starts. And then you go to Cornelia Street, where she's thinking like, if this ends, I can't live. And then you get to like, how did this end in Tortured Poets? And it's like, oh, here we go again. It's already happening. Right. And then The Bolter, which is like a fun kind of take on that same idea as like an endpoint. So
and then
now I'm just making playlists.
Yes. Well, and then when you're like talking about the Archer, like is when she's like, who can never, leave me kind of thing, and it's, well, you kind of get a little bit of narcissism. We all have to have that little bit, if you're a creative person, it's sort of just there, I think.
So true. Okay. Before we spoil any more incredible picks, Alex, you're up. No, this is what we're here for. Alex, you're up. It's your...
Oh no, I'm not prepared. Because there's a lot of places that I could go right now. And some of my favorites, I feel like they're on the edge of falling behind. But a lot of these categories are so deep. And that's what gives me a little bit of comfort. So I think that I already kind of got to give my speech about why You're on Your Own, Kid is so meaningful to me. So I'm gonna leave that for someone else to take if they want to. And instead, I'm gonna go with The Archer for that self-reflection song in there. Because I think that it is an absolutely beautiful song about what it's like to be someone who's been so used to one type of relationship and finally falling into something different, and that realization that those experiences have maybe twisted you a little bit, and now you are maybe the problem in this new relationship. Like, you're so worried about protecting yourself from this person's flaws that you're actually the problem, right? You're not being open to them. They're actually, like, when she says, I searched for your dark side, what if I'm right here? Like, what if I'm your dark side, right? What if the thing that's bad about you is that you like me because I'm so obsessed with fighting and with kind of protecting myself from getting hurt that I'm causing this to fall apart. And I don't want to. I want you to help me hold on to you. And I just think it's so vulnerable, and it's so open, and and the production is so like airy and beautiful. And I just think it's a tremendous love song, and from a perspective that you don't often hear.
My favorite part of that song is when it's all the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put me back together again. Because and that's one of those lines that, like, I love about her, these like quick little phrasings, and I'm like, oh, it's, it means a lot. Like, that's a very like powerful thing to say, and it's a very play on a common rhyming thing, so it sticks in your head. It creates that earworm kind of thing, and I find sometimes just that line gets kind of stuck in my head, and it's like, it's a great song.
And the second half of that little like couplet is, because all of my enemies started out friends, and it's just, that's so devastating. And it hits me like a wallop whenever I hear it. And also just like, it's so evocative, the imagery, like, I wake in the night, I pace like a ghost, the room is on fire, invisible smoke. What does that mean? I don't necessarily know, but I know that it like conjures an image in my head that I can feel, and that's what this song is, just full of feelings.
Yes, and how people can see through her, like, I know you can see through me. I know you can see through all of this, and
then
you
the way
see all my
that
flaws.
builds, the way that it builds, where it's like, can you see right through me? And then it builds to I see right through me. And it's like, yeah, that's the problem. Like, I know my bullshit now so much that I can't escape it. And that's the most frustrating part.
Yes. Oh, great. It's also like the perfect Sagittarius song.
Excellent. Had to get there at some point. Great call. Okay. Is it my turn again?
Sure is, Kris.
Okay. I once again am going to make a choice based on not quite scarcity per se, but I wasn't necessarily going to go to self-reflection song quite this soon, but I feel I want to secure this now before it disappears on me, as so many great ones have. Midnight is an album just like full of self-reflection. If I recall, Davor, you were able to select for your favorite 5th track. You're on your own, kid. This song, I think, borders on self-loathing at times. It's a lot to sit with. I think we've all been in places where we take a step back and we decide whether or not we are heroes or villains in our own story. And I think we find often that we're a little bit of both, that life is complicated, that we are complicated. But I think she ends up coming to like ecclesiastical wisdom in the end of just like, it's just one day at a time. You know, you just gotta make the friendship bracelets, take the moment and taste it. Just be present, do your best. This is a great song. You're on your own, kid. You always have been echoes in the back of my mind from many a listen with my daughter and with my wife, and more often hearing them sing it, regardless of whether or not there's any music playing. Much to my delight, and I mean that. So, yeah, I think for my self-reflection song, I'm happy to take You're on Your Own, Kid. Okay. That brings us on to you, Leah.
Okay.
For your 5th pick.
I'm losing options on both friends and family and vocal collab. And I'm going to take a little bit of a risk and secure my friends and family track because I do not have anything off of Folklore. And I previously called it a masterpiece. So I need to do that now. And but Folklore, but Leah, that's an album about other people. Ha 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 ha. Not the song she wrote about her house, where she has her friends and family over all the time, that I can't believe you haven't picked already, Kris.
Wow.
I'm choosing, of course, The Last Great American Dynasty, an incredible like folk ballad that she wrote about the woman who owned her house previously. It tells like a complete story, and then and at the end she's like, and I'm surprised I bought it, which is self-indulgent, but you know, personal and lovely. I think I've said lovely 20,000 times over.
She is lovely. Taylor's lovely, you know.
Yes, I wish she would write more songs like this. I very sincerely think that she would be very good at writing a musical, kind of the way Sarah Bareilles wrote Waitress.
Wow.
I think she could do really good, and Folklore kind of solidified that.
Yeah, she's just like, she pours herself out, and that probably informs a lot of her art. But Folklore is such a great evidence that she's a writer. She's just a brilliant creative who understands the human condition. Yeah, what a fun story, what a fun song.
She does have that deal still with Searchlight Pictures to make a movie, to direct a film. And, you know, it could be a musical. Who's to say? That would be wonderful. I love this song so much. I'm very mad. I'm very mad that you took it, because this is like one of my all-time favorite songs. In fact, one of the things that I was so upset about, I created, you know, I came up with all the categories. And the one thing that I was sad about was I was like, well, there's not really a good way to fit this song into these categories. And I love this song. And then when Randy said, well, we'll do a wild card, I was like, oh, thank God, then I can draft it. And then you drafted it out from under me.
And I think you found a clever way to make it fit the category too, wherever friends and family gather. That's brilliant.
And what is not the best friend of all, but the beach house mansion that you own in Rhode Island. So I think it totally works.
Yeah, it's something we can all really just relate to, you know?
And you know, I also love how she relates to this woman being like a new money outsider in Newport. You know, watch the Gilded Age. I don't know. It's
Real
Well,
Gatsby.
on the paper.
Yeah.
And a fun little detail that I really like about this song. So all of the stories that she shares are supposedly true about this woman, but one detail that she changes is that the woman actually dyed her neighbor's cat green, and as a lover of cats, she changed it
couldn't do
to
it. She
a
couldn't do
dog
it,
green.
JK.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Love that.
Well, they just reported in the news today that that house, the Watch Hill house, is gonna go under some extensive renovations. So, as a Rhode Islander, this is becoming
Yes.
big news.
Aha,
So
okay.
everybody's like, "Oh, is she gonna be here more? Oh boy!" So hopefully she'll come to Providence and cause chaos.
Yeah.
East Coast Taylor, bring it on.
I know.
Well, Randy, you must feel a type of way about that. You're a South Shore guy. Rhode Island's right in your backyard.
Yeah, I know Maria and I both grew up there. I'm fairly certain Leah didn't grow up all so
Yeah,
far away from
I'm from
Newport
Pawtucket.
herself.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rhode Island is well represented on this podcast here.
Yeah.
I live in Massachusetts, but like my TV is going to pick up the Providence station before the Boston one. So there you
Right.
go.
Yeah, I mean,
Providence-
same, because I was in Pawtucket, so as a child, I never knew when I was and wasn't in Seekonk. So, like, it's the same. I didn't know when I was and wasn't in Massachusetts ever.
It's all just like a weird void of chain restaurants.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
That separates Massachusetts from Rhode Island.
Well, I feel like as someone from Massachusetts, I always refer to Providence as just a suburb of Boston.
Yeah.
So like, it just kind of
Oh.
feels that way, but I don't think people who are native Rhode Islanders like it when I say that.
Kris, I think I'm up next. And let's keep things in folklore. This is a Taylor vibe I haven't been able to dive into quite yet in my draft. So I'm looking at my list. There are so many top tier tracks on the table. It's an embarrassment of riches. The only problem I have with my draft strategy so far is I don't even know how I'm going to pick some songs. I was like hoping some of these top tier songs would go, so I don't feel like I have to pick them. So what I'm going to do is delay that for a round, and I'm going to take care of my bonus track. So I'm going to go to folklore, and I'm going to go to The Lakes, which is one of my overall favorite Taylor Swift songs. This one just grabbed me right away, musically, lyrically, even before the low-hanging fruit of poetry references and references to the Lakes District. Certainly that's all in there. When I think about poets dying at lakes, of course I think of Shelley drowning. But I love this song because it's so bittersweet in a really compelling way. On the one hand, you've got Taylor trying to escape all this frustration, this pain, the negativity. I actually had this track classified as a low-key diss track or beef track if I had to go there, because we do get the shout out to the rights of her music. I've come too far to watch some name-dropping sleaze tell me what my words worth. Tell me what are my words worth. And of course, the play on words works for me with Wordsworth, the poet. But really, it's just the beauty of the lyrics. I want to watch wisteria grow right over my bare feet because I haven't moved in years, and I want you right here. I love that. When nothing's working, but you find comfort in one other person. And yeah, I love the progression of the song, and it's my softest track yet.
Great pick. I was wondering when you make your way into this era. Great pick.
Sounds like no one was going to fight me for that one.
Well, I wanted to, but I was like, I probably deserved that from the naked, the Nick at Night they did. So it's okay. I'll let you have it.
Fair.
Wow, throwing it way back. Love that.
It's a very sweet song, but I mean, how could the English teacher not draft The Lakes? I mean, come on.
Fair.
Exactly right. All right, Davor, your fifth pick. You've got a good list going so far. Where are you going next?
All right, I'm going to go to Best Falling in Love Song.
Mhm.
And my pick is going to be off Red. It is going to be the acoustic version of State of Grace.
Oh.
So I love this song as an opener to this album because one of the things that I love so much about Red is just how sonically diverse it is. And I love that the album, you start listening at the top and like the drums start and all of a sudden you're like, what is this? Like it's totally different. So it's, it starts with this really great, sort of alt rocky type song. And I mean, I love the OG version of State of Grace, but I also really love the acoustic version. When I saw her at Rep Tour, that was the sort of surprise song that she did was was State of Grace. And I think it's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful song about, again, they sort of like these two people have come together. It has the line that I love about, I never saw you coming and I'll never be the same. So yeah, I'm going with State of Grace.
Love that you picked the acoustic version. Taylor is just such a generous artist for us, whether it's giving us a piano version, an acoustic version, a bonus track, a Taylor's version. And they're all just wonderful and they have their own place. You're in the mood for one or you're in the mood for the other, and she gives you both. Great pick. All right. Meg, we're on to you. You are picking on the turn. Let's go ahead and get your fifth pick in the books. And then we'll take a quick moment to pause the draft, recap where we're at so far, and we will resume after that with your sixth pick.
Sounds good. Let's talk about breakups. Let's talk about my breakup song. I went through a lot of different options for this one because there are a lot of really good options. But ultimately I had to go with You're Losing Me. Especially because it's this whole song about how she's tired of fighting to make this relationship work. And he's not doing enough to fix it. And it's this whole relationship that once was great and now everything is falling apart. And she's trying to get him to understand, but he doesn't understand. And that's the most tragic part about it, is he just doesn't get why she's in this place that he doesn't seem to be. And that's why, the relationship is going to fall apart. And it does.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Great pick. These breakup songs, like there isn't a bad one in the bunch as we fill out this board, and some of we've most of us have a breakup song at this point. There isn't a bad one in the bunch.
Yeah, I haven't picked yet because it's like I feel like that's the easiest one to wait on because there's just no bad options.
Yeah, it's a breakup song and love song, kind of her bread and butter.
Yeah, and I do really love that song. I think it's I think it's interesting that like it didn't make the original album and then it was hard to get for so long, but now it's finally out there and easy to get. But yeah, it's a tough one to listen to because it's not about a relationship ending. It's about a relationship that's already ended, but the people haven't quite accepted it yet. And I think that's kind of interesting.
All right. Well, with Meg's fifth pick in the books, we are officially halfway through the draft. It has been a journey so far, as every good Taylor Swift album should be. Randy, can you quickly recap everybody's board so far and let us know where we're at?
Yeah, I will recap the board, but first, just two big picture things I want to share. I'm really impressed with our distribution of picks across the eras. However, no one has dipped into the self-titled debut just yet, so I'll be curious to see who breaks the ice there. So that is to be determined. But yeah, just going through in our draft order, we've got Maria. Sorry, I paused for a moment there because like these lists are just all so incredible. It's an embarrassment of riches out here. But Maria's got Blank Space, Champagne Problems, Anti-Hero, I Bet You Think About Me, and So Long London. Such a great collection. Alex has got Cruel Summer, The Archer, Seven, Coney Island, and Nothing New featuring Phoebe Bridgers. Kris has got Betty, All Too Well, the 10-minute version, You're on Your Own, Kid, Mean, and Exile. Leah is really representing Reputation. She's got We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, Mastermind, Getaway Car, The Last Great American Dynasty, and that great end track off Reputation, New Year's Day. Meanwhile, I'm feasting on some of my favorite tracks. Don't Blame Me, Karma, Endgame featuring Ed Sheeran and Future. I've got I Can See You as a vault track, and also The Lakes, which is really personal to me as an English teacher. Davor has got State of Grace, the acoustic version, Peter, Dear John, Everything Has Changed featuring Ed Sheeran, New Romantics, which was the first song I was sad to see go off the board. And finally, Meg has put together a really thoughtful list of Love Story, You're Losing Me, Marjorie, Run, and Say Don't Go. To the Swifties out there listening, I imagine you're probably really happy to see that we're not simply going for the hits. There are so many songs that I thought would be gone right now that are still available. And I've come to love Taylor Swift so much in prepping for this pod, and you're all taking me to a new level and making me want to go back and give some tracks another listen. So thank you for all the intelligence and insight and experience you bring to this activity.
Already, we've got just like great playlists going. I just realized that I'm going to have to take the time after this draft to go and build individual playlists named for each of you brilliant drafters. And I'll revisit them in my Taylor Swift moments. I'm just thrilled. This is so fun. All right, back half of the draft. It's going to start getting a little bit scarier, I think, as some of the top tracks have disappeared from each category. Meg, we pick it back up with you for your sixth pick. Where are we going?
I'm going to go with my Falling in Love song. This may be a little on the nose, but my Falling in Love song is You Are in Love. Because who doesn't need a song where, as she says in said song, what would you call love if you had to put love into words? And it does exactly that. And it's perfect.
Great choice. I love that you backed up your breakup song with your Falling in Love song. Excellent symmetry in your picks thus far. Great pick.
That song was like a deep emergency pick for me if it didn't get my friends and family one, because she actually wrote that song for Jack Antonoff about him and his relationship with Lena Dunham.
Beautiful.
Nice.
All right. Davor, your sixth pick.
All right. I'm also going to go with, I'm going to pair and do my breakup pick for this
Nice.
one. And so I'm going to Midnights, and specifically Maroon.
Nice.
I love this song. I love it's sort of a sister song with New Year's Day, because it is also like the song is kind of taking place in the aftermath of a party. So I love that. I love whenever she does that with her songs. I love the imagery, obviously like maroon, and then there's like the the burgundy on my t-shirt, and again calling back to like different shades of red, again calling back to the album there. I think it's a great song. I mean, you can almost call it like a breaking up song, because it is about this relationship, and you can see that it's like it's on its very last legs and they're pretty much about to fall apart. I think it's very evocative. I like that there is a callback to it later on, and I think it's oh my god, I never know the name of the song, but Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus, I think it's that has the line about, will that make your memory fade from the scarlet maroon? So yeah, that's my pick.
Excellent pick. No arguments here. Again, love that you guys inverted your pairings too. You went love first, breakup second. She went breakup first, love second. Lovely. All right, Randy, back to you. Where are you going to take us?
What a phenomenal question. Yeah, I'm looking at the categories, and there are like at least 3 songs that I would love to pick for every category. So I am a little bit beside myself just trying to decide where to go next. So I think I'm just going to focus on continuing to diversify just like the overall vibe of my draft. We've got a certain vibe off of Reputation that I've spoken to that I really loved. I picked I Can See You first overall when I was grabbing my vault track, but I think maybe an alternate vibe to this song is going to be my friends and family pick, which I am going to have to frame and argue for all of you. But I'm going to go back to the Speak Now album, and I'm going to pick the title track, Speak Now, because I absolutely adore this song. First, this is a song about a narrator who is considering, speaking up or forever holding her peace at a wedding, so that she can be with the person that she wants. Now, I did read that Taylor Swift wrote this song inspired by the experience of a friend, so that's part of my logic. But the other reason I'm arguing this in friends and family is based on the context of this song. This doesn't sound like a past relationship that she is trying to reignite. This very much reads to me as a friend's situation that she always wanted to be more. Those friendships that mean so much that they run deep. There are a few things I could point to. I'd say my main piece of evidence is that she's been uninvited by the bride. And if this were like really an ex, I think they probably like would have negotiated that out earlier. I don't think we'd have like a serious ex back in the picture. I think this is a friend. I think the bride to be is threatened. But beyond that, the pacing and sort of like the syncopation of the voice here, I find really appealing in this song. I really enjoy it. And also, I love the storytelling. Somewhere back inside a room wearing a gown shaped like a pastry to describe the bridesmaid, I think is some really beautiful stuff. It's a cute song, but it works for me. It hits me. I don't know if anyone's going to fight me on my classification of friends and family, but Speak Now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, the pun is too clever to argue with, and you used the word syncopation in your argument, so you're good. You're good. With no other objections, then you can get married. No, we'll move on to Leah for her sixth pick.
All right, I need to get my best collab done. And I'm going to choose probably my only song off of Lover, Soon You'll Get Better, featuring the Chicks. For, it's a nice song. I almost said lovely again. But it's my third or fourth pick on my short list, but I put it there because I have not gotten too many opportunities to write about Taylor Swift songs, and at least once when the Cats album came out, I was very mean and then have lived in fear ever since that I was going to get death threats for being mean about her online. Even though I also said in that article that I think she could write a good musical. So I tried to be nice. But one of the earlier times that I stayed up with editors to listen to an album at midnight and then do crazy coverage was for Lover, and I wrote about this song and the story behind it and collabing with the Chicks, who I also like a lot.
Especially since the name change. Great pick.
Yep.
Love that for you. Love that you got the collab you wanted. I think we were all getting scared of that category for a minute there, and you were brave.
Well, I wanted Safe and Sound.
Well, you've done okay for yourself anyhow. You could have gone in a different category for this. I did have it in my friends and family track. This is for her mom. Yeah. Great song.
Yeah, it's a song about her going through going through cancer treatments and her kind of being afraid for her mom. And I love that the lyric, she has the lyric of I don't mean to make this all about me, which is perfect for her.
In
but
the
it's
album
very
with
sweet.
me exclamation point.
Yeah, that is maybe the most Taylor Swift lyric ever, where in that song where she's the guy singing is well, you can't spell there is no I in team, and she's but there is a me. It's oh, there is. She's got you there.
Taylor. Okay, great pick. My turn now, and I'm not sure what to do. Singles feels like such a bountiful category. It feels foolish to go there, and yet, I do think that's where I'm going to go next. because, to Randy's point, none of us have dipped into the self-titled debut album. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and I will take Teardrops on My Guitar, kind of the one that started it all. These tracks still hold up. You can go back to them, and they're still wonderful pieces of music. I'm still happy to sing along to Teardrops on My Guitar. I'm happy to get sappy with it. I'm happy to get sad with it. Really, nothing bad to say about her first album. She's young. She's affecting country probably more than was truly authentic to the kind of music that was in her heart. I think it was probably her most marketable version to start out as. And that's okay because she does it really, really well. And to your point earlier, when you go back to a feature with somebody like Chris Stapleton, you can hear just how well she does country. And so, yeah, fine with taking this one here and bringing us into that album for the first time tonight.
Thank you, Kris.
Okay. With no objections, we'll pass it to Alex for your sixth pick.
Okay, so I know just a couple minutes ago I was like, yeah, I'm going to wait until the end to do Best Falling in Love song because there's just so many that are so good. But here's the thing. I never thought that this song would be on the board for this long. It's absolutely insane. And so I feel like I have to take it also because I looked over my list and all of my songs are sad. Even the one that isn't that is poppy is also sad. So I need to come up with just one that is just purely fun. And so I'm going with Style off of 1989. Excellent song. I think in contention for her best songs, period. It's so sexy and cool. And it's got that sort of 80s synths. And it just, I don't know, when I listen to it, it just feels like a hot summer night and you're driving home from the bar. It's late at night and it's the humid, but it's sexy and fun and just easy and just I love the iconography that she plays with in the lyrics. And I love that on the press tour, she tried to say that this wasn't about Harry Styles, even though she named the song Style, which is just so funny that she tried to get away with that. But it's just one of her most iconic songs off of one of her most iconic albums. And perfectly captures that 80s vibe that the album is going for, but in a way that felt utterly new. And I feel like for people who are skeptical about Taylor Swift but like pop music, I've played this song for them and they're immediately okay, she's great. I get it. That's just a incontrovertibly great song.
And an incontrovertibly great pick. Well done. You've got a great list going. I'm a little envious of everybody. I'm happy with my list, and then yet I find myself envious of everybody's list. Well done. Okay, Maria, picking on the turn. You get to secure your sixth and seventh pick. A minute ago, we were halfway through. Now I feel like it's almost the end.
I know.
I can't believe it.
Well, geez. Okay, what do I have left here? All right, I'm gonna go. Right now, I'm gonna choose my the best kind of friend family song, and I'm gonna go with When Emma Falls in Love from Speak Now. As I think that's a really sweet song to write about a friend, and just I don't know, when I hear that song and some of the lyrics in it, it reminds me of one of my closest friends who, when she's kind of going through some of her personal and relationship stuff, and she's a really lovely person, and when she falls in love with somebody, it's her whole heart and soul is in it, and she's just such a wonderful person. And so when I hear this song, it sort of makes me think of my friend, and I just think it's a little bit different than I think what she usually writes about when she's writing about other people. And I believe the song is written for Emma Stone. I believe that's right. And just some of the things when Emma falls in love, it's all over her face. It hangs in the air like stars in outer space. when Emma falls in love, she disappears, and we all just laugh after seeing it all these years. And I don't know, it's just sort of, it's very sweet to me. I like it. And it's just kind of a nice reflection on a friend and their life and wanting the best for them.
Great pick. Who of us wouldn't want a friend to say that we're the kind of book that you can't put down?
Right. Yeah. And
It's a
who wouldn't
lovely
want?
thing to say.
And when you have, you really want that for somebody, and the idea of, seeing them really happy and stuff, and it's also it's another kind of love when you have your friend and you love your friend that much, and you're like, oh, I want you to experience the most fantastical world that you can. You deserve it.
And Emma Stone is lovely. I think we can all want that for Emma
Yeah.
Stone. So co-sign the pick.
She
Alex.
is, after all, like Cleopatra if she grew up in a small town. So I always said that about
Absolutely.
her. So,
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right, clever Alex, your turn.
Okay. So I know the song that I'm picking. I just am not positive which category I'm going to pick it in, because I have it as my number one remaining song in 2 categories right now. So it's really like, what game do I want to play for the next time I have to go up on this? But the song is Hits Different off of Midnight's, a song I absolutely love. I think it's fantastic. It's like a messy sort of breakup-ish song. The relationship is not ended by the end, but it feels things are not in a great place. But I think I'm gonna draft it instead in bonus track, because it is a bonus track. Some of the bonus tracks off of that album are some of the best songs off of that album. So it's wild that it got all the way there. But I love this song. I love the story in the song. I think it just perfectly captures a moment of like, she gets into a fight with her boyfriend at a bar and then just has to like deal with this. They go their separate ways after the fight, and then it's just like the mess of emotions that happens afterwards. And I just love the lyrics, her line delivery of catastrophic blues is just excellent, and it just like rings through my head every time I'm feeling sad. And it just, she's self-reflective in it too. Like, she talks about how she used to be able to move on from people very quickly, but now it's so much harder because it's her, because it's him that he's with. And also just the the way she has, like, there's a portion of the song where it feels like she's fighting with him actively. Like, she's saying about how just like how like she wishes that she could be with him, and she knows that she's not, like, it can't work out, but then she like works herself up into the lines, like, in like, so she says like, a wrinkle in time, like the crease by your eyes. This is why they shouldn't kill off the main guy. Dreams of your hair and your stare and your sense of belief in the good in the world. You once believed in me, and I felt you and I held you for a while. But I could still melt your world. Argumentative, antithetical dream girl. So she's like, she's romanticizing him in one breath, and then totally like trying to seize back control, being like, but I'm still awesome, actually. So fuck you. And then it ends in this beautiful sort of like, where she hears him coming home, and she's just hoping that it's over after all of this explosion of emotion and self-doubt and regret and like idealizing him and tearing him down and all of this stuff. She's just hoping that the fight is over and that everything will be okay in the morning. But maybe they're going to come to take her away because she's completely lost it. And
Nice.
I think it's beautiful. It's all the emotions all at once.
Yeah.
I
And it's a fun bop.
You continue to pick songs that sort of like fully encompass the Taylor experience somehow. Really, really excellent pick.
This is an interruption for me. I think this is just me screwing up and getting confused because I was fiddling with too many documents. Maria, I think I missed your 6th pick.
No, I don't. Oh,
You had When
I
Emma
did
Falls in Love.
and then I forgot to do my 7th pick.
Maria, you didn't benefit from picking on the turn. We need your 7th pick. So before we go to my pick, we're going to come back to you.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with my best vault track, and I'm gonna pick Mr. Perfectly Fine.
Nice.
I think this song's so much fun. I like I kind of like the poppiness of it and the bitterness that's, going on in the song. And I don't know, I feel like it was one of those songs where the first time I heard it, I was like, oh no, she is a pop star. Like she's not only a pop star, but she is an excellent songwriter. And this song is so much fun and it encompasses all kinds of just, I don't know, that kind of like, oh, that's great. Glad you're doing really well without me. Meanwhile, I can't even like get to the beach, but okay, have a good time. And so it's such a relatable feeling on all kinds of levels, not just like in a relationship, but like even like if you had a close friend or something who's like just like, able to move on so quickly. And you're like, all right, well, I'm glad you're happy with your new friends. I'm still over here doing my thing.
Absolutely a familiar feeling that you can find, to your point, in a few different places.
Mm.
Great pick. And yeah, she's a pop star for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My seventh pick. I need to do friends and family now because this one is still, my number one pick is still on the board. I don't want to miss it. Taylor wrote this song for her godson. It's Never Grow Up, or she dedicated it to her godson, I should say. I love this song as a parent. It makes me weep. Like, I can just hear the opening lyrics and immediately dissolve into tears, reflecting on fondly watching my little daughter wrap her tiny little fingers around my thumb. And I also am moved by it as a child. Nostalgia can be such a heavy thing. Like, nostalgia can be a fun thing where you go back and you revisit a thing from your childhood, but like reflecting on the feelings of childhood, the memories, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the things that you'll never recapture can also be really heartbreaking. And so this song gets me as a parent. This song gets me as a child. I can't help but think she was thinking of her own parents as she was writing this. We all do have to grow up. And in many ways we can seek to keep the child alive inside of us, but there's so many things that we just do have to let go of, and so yeah, the song is beautiful, and it's also like uplifting in a lot of ways. It's like adorable to picture her looking upon this godson of hers, but it's also like heartbreaking in a way that I think only Taylor can do. So yeah, friends and family, never grow up.
Kris, a few weeks ago, I was prepping for this and I was talking to my wife about it. And I was just like, I'm not even going to bother to put that song on my list because there's no way Kris Ingersoll is not going to draft that song before all is said and done. He is going to girl dad into that song so hard. And it's a beautiful song. I also realized I'm fairly certain we're the only two parents in the draft. So we were going to likely be the suckers to grab that one. It's so pretty and so emotionally manipulative, but I love it.
Yeah. Emotionally manipulative is correct. And I'm so grateful that you know me so well. That just really made my night. Thank you, sir. Okay. Leah, we're on to you. It's your seventh pick.
Okay. All right. We're winding down. I am going to go with my bonus track. I don't know
Nice.
if I'm TikTok pilled or what, but I'm a little bit shocked that this is still on here. I'm going to pick off of Midnight's, I believe, The Great War.
Yeah.
My number one pick was Peter, so rip to that. I'm a big sucker for these literary songs, and this is a very literary song. I think it's been made into an edit for every single couple you can think of, from your Harry Potters to your Hunger Games to probably some Marvels, probably some Star Warses. It's very easy to graft a story onto that. And then, like, looking at the lyrics, I really like the flower imagery in a song about war. Very aware about the flowers gone. I am losing my voice. This is wild. But yeah, keep it brief. The Great War.
Maybe
Awesome.
losing your voice, but not your prowess as a drafter. Excellent
Not my
pick.
voice.
No,
my voice,
that-
but my voice.
That's one of my favorite tracks, Leah. I love that one, but I feel like weirdly conflicted about it because I'm like, is it weird to use this like World War One as a metaphor for a relationship? But I decided I'm fine with it because in my head canon, the relationship is happening during the Great War, and then it's fine, and I have no qualms.
Just like Tolkien.
You heard it here, folks. Taylor Swift is just like Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we will turn. You're living on that statement, Leah. We're going to move on to Randy, so that statement lives forever. Randy, your 7th pick, please.
I'm staring at this list. Like I've got songs like 20 deep that I would love to pick, and then other songs I supposedly like more than them, and I just truly like just don't even know what to do. Like I'm like I could force myself to grab another era and put it on the list. I could just go with what I really have as my favorite. And these all sound reasonable to me. I'm like how much do I want to be honest with myself? How much do I want to be cool? But I'm looking at the available
Honesty is always cool, buddy.
and my favorite remaining single, like I feel weird saying that because there's so many other great ones, but it's really high on my list. I'm such a huge fan of Lavender Haze. I just love that track so much. I never in a bazillion years thought I'd be drafting it in like the 7th round of this draft. So I'm going to grab it as my single. We'll go Lavender Haze as the single. I got a lot of kind nods of approval from the panel.
Listen, I'm never gonna say no to a Mad Men reference on any podcast. So
Listen, and it's and we thought only one good thing would come out of Joe Alwyn and Taylor Swift watching Mad Men, and then The Brutalist happened, and he's doing an incredible Pete Campbell impression.
Love it.
absolutely.
Watch more TV with your creative significant others. That's the lesson.
Excellent. Randy, good pick. I'm a
Thank
little
you,
jealous.
thank you.
Great song. And just a great song title. All right. Davor, back to you.
All right, for number 7, I'm going wild card. So I a couple rounds before I had drafted Dear John, and I was talking about that song, the way that she eviscerated him on that track. Fast forward to Midnights, and she puts out a song called Would've, Could've, Should've, where she exhumes him and then proceeds to pulverize his skeleton. This song is just like it's such a bop. It's so good. It's my favorite song overall on Midnights. And yeah, it's just this great song about like a lover kind of contemplating like how would have things gone? How would have my life been if we had never, ended up in each other's lives and all of that? And so it's much like Dear John, it's a meditation on that relationship, but also with a little bit of twist because she does have the line where she talks about like, and the God's honest truth is that the pain was heaven. So there's like a little bit of like, I did kind of enjoy this ride that I was on, even though it was bad overall. So yeah, it's a great song.
You like breaking my heart I respect the fact that you have the full story, the Dear John, and then the would have should have, but like this is literally the song that I was talking about in therapy this week, so like it really means a lot to me. But I respect the pairing. This song is just absolutely incredible, and a fun detail is that this is the song that she wrote when she was the age that John Mayer was when he was dating her at 32. So that's a fun little wrinkle to that. But yeah, this is incredible. Like the line delivery of like "Give me back my girlhood, it was mine first" is just absolutely like breathtaking and heartbreaking, and it's just an incredible song.
Yeah. Cleverly paired. I really love the way you walked us into that one, Davor. Great pick. All right, Meg, picking on the turn. You got back-to-back here. That, I think, is becoming an increasing burden to pick back-to-back.
It's fine. I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. We're going to go with my bonus track, which is Come Back, Be Here. I could not remember if that was the name of the song. Having had some experience with long-distance relationships and not being able to be with the person that you're with for a while, or the person that you want to be with. I like the song a lot, and I think it really speaks to like would I do the idea of like would I do anything to be closer to you because you're too far away from me and it's not fair. And even just that simple fact of like you're too far away and it's not fair and I don't like it, but I don't know if I can do anything about it. It's a great song.
Excellent song and an excellent pick. You're ready to bring us into the final stretch with your 8th pick. We are almost at the tail end. It's getting scarce. You still need a beef track and a self-reflection song. Where are you going?
Where am I going? What am I most scared to lose? Oh no. I can do it. I can do it. Let's do I want to do that? Yes, let's do it. We're gonna go with my beef track, which is Thank You, Amy, which is this is one of those like delightful surprises that we got with the anthology. And like even just the capitalization alone, you're like, oh, like there's no doubt. You know, we don't have to guess. But it's also just a good song, even if you separate that association. Because it's like, hey, you were mean to me and kind of ruined my life, but also like because of that experience, I'm so much better off and you still suck. We like that.
No objections. Everybody thinks this is a great beef track. Yeah,
This is a song that really grew on me. When I first listened to it, I was like, okay, come on, Taylor. Can we move on from them? Like, truly. But the more that I listened to it, I'm like, actually, this song is wonderful and I love it.
Yeah, it's got some nice teeth to it. I love that one.
Teeth is the right word. Then, to your point, Meg, the name, it's bold, it's clear. We're not being clever or shy about this. It's what the song is about. Excellent pick. Okay, you're off the hook for now. Davor, back to you.
All right. For number 8, I'm going to Friends and Family, and I cannot believe that Long Live is still on the board, so I'm going to take it. This is a great song. I love it. I mean, I think it has, like so many of her songs, it has multiple meanings. You know, it's a song that you can interpret as about like friendship and about her like singing about all of these, you know, adventures that she went on. And then she has the little, you know, ode at the end about like with your kids, when they point to the picture, please tell them my name and like tell them all the stories. I think you can also read it as like a song about fandom. Like it's something that she's singing to her fans about Long Live. But I think I choose to read it as sort of this like friendship song about like remember all of these like great times and all the experiences and all the adventures we went on. And I hope that, you know, when years pass and we've gone our separate ways, we're not together, that you still kind of think about me and tell these stories. So
excellent pick. I want to say that like I keep wanting to make this about scarcity and we're near the end and there's like few great options left. It's just not true. There's still so many great songs on the board. She is annoyingly prolific. Randy, back to you, bud.
All right. So I would say at this point in my Taylor Swift fandom, my favorite albums are Reputation, Lover, and Midnights. I've got a couple tracks off of Reputation. I've got a couple tracks off of Midnights. Somehow I've taken nothing off of Lover yet, despite the fact that I really love that album overall. It's such a great listen, start to finish. So I'm going to be true to my musical tastes and styles. You know, I don't know that this is necessarily the song that most Swifties would put at the top because they really want to get into that deep, reflective, and mature catalog. But as I said early in this pod, when Taylor is bopping, I am having a great time. So I'm going to go into breakup song, and I'm going to go for a song that I will never forget exists. I forgot that you existed. Is not only an incredibly upbeat, fun bop of a song that I could just loop over and over and over again, but it's this simple yet universal feeling, whether it's tied to a relationship or anything else. When someone is in your headspace, in your world, and you finally reach that point just a healthy detachment. It's a really beautiful thing, and it's yet another song where we've got a couple little digs and disses mixed in there, but that experience of moving on and realizing you are free of a burden, it is really great, and it's just so damn fun. And as someone who is kind of new to the Taylor Swift fandom, I didn't know that she did songs like that one going in, and that really surprised me in a fun and exciting way.
It isn't love, is it? It isn't hate. It's just indifference. So yeah.
Yeah. It actually reminds me of my favorite delivery of any joke ever on any sitcom, which is on Scrubs. When oh my goodness, why am I blanking on this actress's name?
Sarah Chalk?
No, Jordan. From Shrinking, she's married to Bill Lawrence. Why can't I think of her name?
Kristen Miller.
Kristen Miller, yes. Sorry, Kristen Miller. I know you listen every week. I'm so sorry for forgetting your name. But I hope you will thank me. At one point, Zach Braff is at his most annoying, asking this character like why she hates him so much, and she just kind of looks at him very like unenergetically, and she says, "I don't hate you. I nothing you." And it's one of my favorite deliveries of all time.
I
So
don't think about you at all.
That's exactly what I was
Exactly
thinking
right.
of.
Yep. Okay. And with that, Leah, it's your pick.
Okay. Oh boy. Well, this won't have a lot of fanfare. I'll do my vault track. None of these are really my bag. However, once I started putting together this list, I really couldn't get Now That We Don't Talk out of my head. It's really catchy. So I'm going to grab that one from 1989.
Nice.
I also just like, is this the same album? Yeah, it's right after it. The vaults on this re-release were pretty fun. I also like Suburban Legends quite a bit too. I had a nice little time with them. But Now That We Don't Talk is just like, it's just bouncy. It's really earwormy.
I love that song.
Yeah, I love the part where it's like she goes through all the things that she doesn't have to care about anymore, that she's not dating him is great. And it just totally like captures that feeling of like, oh, this is someone who who was a big part of my life, and now I am not gonna know anything about them anymore except what I hear from other people. Like they're not in my life anymore. And that's a weird thing. Like somebody takes up so much space in your mind and then just they're gone. And you're like, oh right. Like I just never gonna know what it felt like, how you felt after that party, because you're never gonna tell me, because that's not where we're at anymore. And it's like it's such like a great like specific feeling to write a whole song about.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent pick. Okay. My turn. I'm going to get everything I want, I think, at this point. I've got 3 categories left to pick. I think I'm going to get what I want. So I'm going to go wild card here. And this is where I'm really excited to turn back to folklore and to slot in another really personal song that brings me back to that time, listening to this album with my wife and with my daughter. I think these might be the first lyrics that my daughter ever sang of Taylor Swift.
Nice.
I think the first time I was riding in the car and I heard her little voice from the back seat say, "Salt air," I melted. For my wild card, I need to have August. I'm happy to pair it with Betty. I was a very proud listener back when folklore first dropped. I was the first one in the household to say, hey, I think this is the other girl. Because I had heard Betty first and I was validated and I felt like maybe one day I could claim the title Swiftie. I'm still not certain I'll get there, but in that moment I felt pretty good. So August for my next pick.
Not only is it sorry, Kris.
Go right ahead, please.
Not only a great song, but you are now the first person to draft a 3rd track off of an album. So well done. All right, Alex, we are up to you. you're coming in with your 8th pick, and what's it going to be?
Okay, so this is hard because I know I'm picking in Breakup, and I'm choosing between two songs, and I've been staring at this for a while, and I'm not sure where to go. And I do have wild card open, so I guess there's a chance I could come back around and I could pick it again. But I kind of, it's like one is a little bit more of like it feels like a personal pick, and the other is just like undeniably iconic. And I feel like I gotta go with the personal pick. I gotta go with "Death by a Thousand Cuts" for the Breakup. I love this song. I love how, at this point in her career, by the time she's done Lover, she's done a million breakup songs, right? She's known for these sad, angry, sometimes melancholy songs about breaking up and ending the relationship, right? And I love that this is so almost like whimsical in her like meditation on this at the end of this relationship. The kind of idea that like the painful thing is that every day that I live without this person is just like one more like cut, right? Death by a thousand cuts. And that could feel like very melodramatic. But instead it's so whimsical and fun. Like she's asking the traffic lights if it'll be all right, and they say, I don't know. And it's just like I feel like I've driven many places feeling sad, and that very much relate to that. And it's just like it almost feels like she doesn't want to like the theme of the song is very much she doesn't want to let go of the love that she has, this relationship. And so she's walking through these parts of their past, this moving through the town that was once theirs, but is no one's now, right? Like all these things that they shared is now doesn't exist because they don't have it to share. And she doesn't want to let go of that. And she's able to do it in like a fun sort of poppy sort of, atmospheric way that it feels like a really interesting challenge for her as a creative songwriter and in the production and everything else. So I think for that reason, I really like it. There's just so much life to it, even though if you look at the lyrics, they can feel quite sad.
It's one of my favorites Taylor Swift songs, and I love the bridge of it where it's suddenly like my heart, my hips, my body, my love, trying to find a part of me that you didn't touch, gave up on me like I was a bad drug. And it's again, I find it's another one of those songs that's got such a poppy beat, but then when you actually sit down and think about what you're saying and singing along, you're like, oh, this gets me in the feels, But you can find yourself like driving to this song and like, being on the highway and being like full, like screaming it, It's one of my favorite songs. Great pick. And I'm heartbroken.
Thank you. And also, I just rewatched Agatha All Along recently, and there's a nice Taylor Swift reference to this song in Agatha All Along. So, it's got the Marvel connection too, which is very on brand for me.
Yeah. In my prep process, I was sharing a lot of my lists along the way with my wife. And one of the questions I would ask is like, can you just look at this and like tell me which songs you think I'm the most stupid for not having higher? And Death by a Thousand Cuts was one of the first ones that came up. So she's like, you need to sit and listen to that one a few more times. And it did make it onto my list. So
nice.
Great pick.
Just
great
like
pick.
Even the line readings are just so interesting. Like the way she says like chandelier still flickering here because I can't pretend it's okay when it's not. Like there's just like the way she says chandelier still flickering here. It's so like rhythmic in a very fun way. It's just a really great song.
Excellent. All right, and welcome to the club of people who have picked a third track from an album. Very nice. I love to see it. All right, Maria, we are back to you. We're going to make sure that we get you both of your picks on the turn, and take it away.
Okay, so I'm going to do my best falling in love song, which has been really a difficult because there's just so many songs that I love. And I was sort of on the other end where I was hoping like, oh, well, maybe other people will pick certain songs and it will help me narrow my songs. And I have a lot of very like personal, fun, favorite songs, but I think I'm going to pick mine based on a memory and my experience at the Eras tour itself. And I'm going to go with Enchanted, which I really love that song. I think that album had sort of, I think the Taylor's version had just come out like not too long before I went to this concert. And so it was kind of fresh in my mind at the time too. And um it was downpouring. It was such heavy rain, and it was just a crazy experience from that alone. And so I didn't really like take a lot of pictures or take a lot of videos or anything like that, which was actually like really cool. So then I was like fully immersed, not tempted to like use my phone. But then when she came out for Enchanted, I had quite a few adult beverages and things at this time. And my husband was away with his dad, and so that song came on, and I was like, oh, it's a little break in the rain. I'm gonna take my phone out and I'm gonna record myself singing this song to it and send it to him. And so it was one of my like favorite moments because it's just downpouring, and she's wearing this big beautiful dress that sort of reminded me of my wedding dress that was very like big hoop skirt kind of thing. And I don't know, it was just like when I think about that concert, I think about that moment, and she's coming out and it's in the rain. She's like, I was enchanted to meet you. And I don't know. So that's when I think about that song, it makes me really happy. And so that's the song. It's not necessarily my most favorite of her songs, but it's my favorite memory of a Taylor Swift song. So it means a lot to me in that way. And like, my husband being like, getting those videos and being like, were you having a good time? All right. And then,
By the way, shout out to your husband, Patrick. My favorite Bob Cratchit after Kermit the Frog.
I don't know. I just found the flyer from that when you guys were all in it. I was like, is this you? Okay, so let's see.
I do love the story behind the Enchanted. Also, the way that like it's about her meeting the guy from Owl City who she like really liked and respected, and so she wrote this song with like references to their emails built in, and it's all styled like an Owl City song, and I think it's really cool.
And it's just, if she feels like she likes singing it, like she enjoys the song and she feels like proud of it. And so I feel like you get that when she's singing it and stuff. And so I love that. And it's like I say, it's not my favorite, but but it's my favorite memory.
Perfect. And
okay.
We're in the last two picks, 9 and 10.
Okay. All right.
Pick us
So
off.
for my 9th pick, I'm going to do my best bonus track. And I'm going to go with Right Where You Left Me, which I think is got some of like the greatest little like, I don't know, when I hear it, you kind of like dance to it, but then it's good, like, and then all of a sudden you're like, help, I'm still at the restaurant, sitting in a corner I haunt, cross-legged in the dim light. And when I hear this song, I always think of Great Expectations. And I could just see like Mrs. Havisham like sitting, a modern one, sitting in some restaurant, just, waiting for a person to come back or her life changed and everybody's moving on, but her covered in cobwebs.
Shout out Miss Havisham. Love that. Perfect. All right, Alex, what do you have at number 9?
Okay, so for this, I'm going to go wild card, and a couple of my wild card picks have been taken, and I'm also realizing that if my beef track goes the way that I expect it to go, it would mean that I wouldn't have taken any songs off of Reputation, and that's not okay, because that album is it used to be underrated. It's now kind of been reclaimed by the fans in a way that I think is good. And there's just so many good tracks off of this album that I could take, but I have to go. I mean, I'm torn between like, do I go with like the energy of the album and the fun sassiness of it, or do I go with like another sad downbeat song? And I have a lot of those, so I'm gonna go with like high energy. I'm gonna go with I Did Something Bad. This song is so fun. It is her most like I'm the anti-hero vigilante song off of this album. It's all about how Calvin Harris said that he wouldn't make a song with her even after he had made a song with her, and then she cheated on him because of it. And it's like her fully just owning that sense of like, hey, you know what? I can actually be the one who fucks you over. Also, I'm not just like this helpless, sad girl who just constantly gets boys who treat her like crap, and she's like retaking her power, and she's like, I did something bad and it feels so good, right? And it's just really fun, and it's fun to sing along to. It really feels like a moment that everyone's gone through where they decide like, you know what, I'm gonna put that like bad girl hat on for just a second, just because I deserve to also, and I love it. It's really fun. It's really silly. And she sings the hell out of it.
Excellent pick. Kris, I'm glad you made it back from your little off mic crisis. What do you got for your number 9 pick?
I am back. Thank you for holding things down in my absence. Got a saga in the Ingersoll household at the moment. I'll say no more than that. Here is where I'm going to turn to my best from the vault track. With friends and family, I went someplace very personal, and so I left a really good friend of Taylor's on the board, and I'm excited to get her here as I take Castles Crumbling, featuring Hayley Williams, partly because their friendship is so wonderful, right? Taylor didn't have a lot of friends her age in music, so the story goes. Taylor's mom sort of introduced them and got them connected, and they've been friends for a long time now. But then just separately, if you can have Paramore on your list, on your Taylor Swift list, you do it. So yeah, Castles Crumbling featuring Hayley Williams. Okay, so with that wonderful news, I'm going to pass it to Leah for her, what are we, 9th picks?
We are,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow.
All right, so I'm gonna do self-reflection song. I no longer have the opportunity to argue for August as a Leo. It's fine. It's good. Because I can help speed things along by choosing from the Tortured Poets department, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shows you how I feel about that. Clara Bow.
Nice.
Which touches on some of the things that we've already talked about. Her sort of very wise understanding of the industry that she is in. And the like temporariness of fame, you know, she says it all again and with a lovely metaphor about it girls and starlets in this song. Do I have anything else to say about it? Not particularly. It's very nice. It does not to bring him up because of her. It does remind me a lot of a Jake Gyllenhaal quote that I remember from IMDb quotes. So who knows if he actually ever said it, but at a very young age, Jake Gyllenhaal described Hollywood as this cyclical nature of being like, who is Jake Gyllenhaal? Get me Jake Gyllenhaal. Get me someone who's like Jake Gyllenhaal. Who is Jake Gyllenhaal? And isn't that interesting that these two people who cross paths in such a tumultuous way and also a loving way had similar wise but cynical looks on their own position in the world.
Excellent pick. Thank you so much. My gosh, you've got just one left. I can't believe we're near the end. Randy, your 9th pick. It's on to you, bud.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my beef track. There's a slightly more famous song that I love, but I'm gonna go with my favorite. I'm gonna lean into my love for Reputation. I'm also gonna lean into my love for pacing out the lyrics in an interesting way. This is why we can't have nice things. I love this song. It's absolutely a beef track. It certainly seems to be leaning into the ongoing Taylor Kanye West saga round 2. And what I love about this one is we know Taylor's a poet. We've been talking about it all night. She can craft beautiful lyrics that move us. It's not this song. It's just so unapologetic she literally laughs at the subject of her ire in this song and mocks the very idea that she would ever bother to reach out another olive branch. And I just love it. I love how unapologetic it is. I love how fun it is. It's got a brief Gatsby reference. What's not to love?
And such an iconic beef. A great choice. I'm glad it's represented here. All right. Davor for your 9th pick. What's it going to be?
So I'm going to go Vault Track, and I am going to take Is It Over Now off of Speak Now. I love this song. It's a bop about, a not great situation. It's her singing about this relationship that is falling apart and her trying to sort of mark these moments of like, when sort of like, when did it end? When did it fall apart? Is it like when you did this or when I did that? I think, yeah, it's a great song. It's sort of like, it's got sort of the peak kind of sassy Taylor moments, when she sings about like, if she has blue eyes, I surmise you'll probably date her. Like, so yeah, I think it's a really fun and catchy song, despite the subject matter.
As she can do so brilliantly. Great choice. Meg, you get to make your 9th and 10th picks now. You're going to be the first one to complete your draft board. Take us home.
I've got my self-reflection pick and my wild card left. Self-reflection, I'm actually going to pick 15 because the whole song is about, you thought that all of these things were important and all of these people that you knew were going to be important, and maybe some of them would be, but also not, because maybe you had you were off to bigger and better things, and maybe you wouldn't date the boy on the football team, and maybe you would, but maybe you're still doing cooler things than that anyway. So just to look back at what you thought versus what actually mattered.
Yeah, it's like the definition of a self-reflection song. It was certainly high on my self-reflection list. I've erased it now, but I think I had it at either 2 or 3. A very sensible choice in this category, like by definition.
And that lyric that she has in this, where she says, Abigail gave everything she had to a boy who changed his mind, is just like, oh, it's so brutal. And then she follows up with it, and we both cried. Which is like, of course you guys did.
To be young. Okay, take us home. You've got your wild card pick. Perfect slot. The last pick ought to be the wild card if you've done things right. What's it going to be?
This is my favorite Taylor Swift song of all time. And I kind of wanted to just see if anyone would pick it. And no one did. Or no one has. It's 'Tis the Damn Season. In my opinion, the best Taylor song. It just, I don't know. I just listen to it all the time. And there's something about it. Sometimes with the song or with a Taylor Swift song, there's just something about it that gets you.
Isn't it remarkable? We've said it like a few times tonight, but it shouldn't be that there's a song that you can mention that makes everybody go, oh yeah, that can be your favorite song, and you're still able to get in the last round of a 10-round draft. That makes no sense unless the artist in question has an absurd number of amazing songs. So glad you got to get your very favorite Taylor song before the night was over. Wonderful. Well done, Meg.
I love this song too. I do. I'm so on the same page with you. It's amazing that it's gone this long. It's definitely one of my favorites. But I have, I guess, 100 favorite Taylor Swift songs is what I've learned tonight.
Yes.
I really just wanted to see. I'm like, can I hold out this entire time? I believed in it.
All right, Davor, will you be similarly lucky? Have you saved some ultimate last pick for your best single?
All right, yeah. So for my last pick for best single, I'm going to go with "Shake It Off."
Yeah.
I think, like, obviously, 1989 is this sort of turning point in her career. Red is the last album to be labeled country, and then you get into 1989, which is her sort of first definitive pop album. And what a way to kind of inaugurate that moment, that kind of turn in terms of her discography, by releasing just like this 200 proof pop song and Shake It Off. And it's just, yeah, it like whether you're listening to it, whether you like, you see you see the Eras Tour performance or something, it's like it's just so fun. The chorus is so catchy, and yeah, that's what I'm going with.
I mean, great pick. It is, to the point I was making before, absurd that here we are in this round and Shake It Off has only just been selected.
Yeah.
That might be the song that like most people know who don't really know Taylor that well. It's that, like, to your point, that first real poppy hit.
Yeah, it's like a paradigm shifting song.
Mm.
And yeah, it would have been weird if it hadn't gone, for sure.
What did you say? 200 proof pop song? That seems like a blurb from Rolling Stone. I'm going to use that. That's really good. All right, well done. An amazing, amazing track list. Randy, do you feel confident you'll finish us strongly?
I mean, I'm down to the wild card, and it's just like, do I leave greatest hits on the table? Do I go with some more quirky favorites? All right, this feels like the correct choice. There might be songs I technically like better, but I have not grabbed anything from this album yet, and it's one of my most nostalgic songs because my 10-year-old loves pop songs. And starting around the time he was about 2 years old, he's always loved to just like rock out to music videos. And we used to do a lot of Taylor back in the day. And Shake It Off was one of the tracks, certainly, that we would play with him all the time and dance around to. But another favorite that always will hold a place in my heart, and it is one of my favorite Taylor songs, it's 22. No One's Taken 22 off of Red. Probably the ultimate Friends song, maybe in the entire draft. And while I don't know that my life was much like Taylor's at 22, that sort of freewheeling memory of what life looks like and the possibility and your ability to stay up until almost 1 o'clock in the morning, which maybe we don't all feel the same way here recording a Taylor Swift podcast at ages slightly older than 22. I'm going to take it right here. I'm so happy it's on my list.
Slightly older than 22. Great pick. Absolutely lyrically iconic. No arguments, right? I can't believe you were able to get it again in this round. Absolutely insane. Great list, my friend. Leah, your turn. 10th pick. You've got a beef track to select.
Okay. Let me confirm. Yeah, it's there. Continuing with this theme and entering myself into the 3 songs off of one album club, very succinctly put by yours truly, I'm going to take Look What You Made Me Do.
Yeah.
From Reputation, a song confirmed about Arya Stark. Other things too, but Arya Stark is who we really care about here, let's be real. Like, that's the beefiest of beef tracks from the video. So much of it.
The video is unhinged in the best possible way. It just absolutely, she literally rises from the grave at the start of that and just comes back to life. It's so fun. I'm so glad this song got picked because I was afraid it might not. It's so like she samples Right Said Fred, I'm Too Sexy, to make this song. That's deranged. No one in the world would think that's what I'm going to do for my big comeback, fuck you single. And yet it's perfect. It's incredible.
Yep. What a time.
And it's the song that I'm most excited about off of the Reputation Taylor's version, just because how she arranges it on the Eras tour is incredible. And I think it is better than the album version. And like the way that she like handles I'm sorry, the old Taylor can't come to the phone right now. And then in the song, she says it in a very kind of sarcastically like, oh, she's dead. But in the live performance, she screams it like she's dead. And it's great. And it's so much better.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to be very funny.
Old versions. Yeah, it's going to be wonderful.
My daughter loves that song, loves singing that song, loves nailing that vocal part. She's dead. It's her favorite. Excellent pick. Okay, another phenomenal list. Alex, the pressure is mounting not because you have a limited selection, but because everybody else's list is just so strong. Before we turn to you, I have to register my best bonus track. I didn't think I'd leave that to the very, very end, but alas, I have. And I'm glad that I have. This one's just for me. This pick has very little to do with the quality of the song, the meaning of the song, or anything else about the song. It doesn't even have anything to do with somebody who I love, who loves the song. It does have to do with, similar to Maria, other IP that I love. Aside from hosting Media Lit, I'm also the co-host of the Batman by the Numbers podcast, and we are getting ready to enter our world's finest era, as it is the year of Superman. And so I had to make sure that my list, where he was available, it had to be there. Stoked. I got it. I really could not speak to the quality of this song within her greater catalog. Lyrically, it's cute. Musically, it's fine, but it's not about that. It's about Superman. 2025 is the year of Superman.
But Kris, your whole draft has been about how much you love your daughter, and this song is about Taylor's relationship with her dad.
Is it definitively? You know, I looked into it because I'm reading it, and lyrically, I was initially moved. Briefcase, you fly away, off to work or save the day. To me, it's the same thing, and I was moved. And then I looked into it, and I couldn't validate that, and I didn't want to be wrong. So thank you for saying.
That's what I've heard. So I'm saying it's true, and you can own that. It's a perfect exclamation point on your draft board.
Thank you, sir. I will say it. Okay, that lyric did move me to tears a little bit, because one thing that I love about Taylor, I do love love. Like, I love that's like, that exists in the world. I love that it's available to people to feel, and to have others feel that about them. And so a line like that, to like save the world, go to work or save the world, to me, it's the same thing. To think that there's a person in the world who might like think that of me, just like, I love life. I love love. I love that love is a part of life. So thanks for validating that, Alex.
So this was like one of the things that I was most excited to do for this draft, and I had reasonable confidence that no one would do it. So I waited until the end, and much like what Meg was saying, I'm so happy that it came true and I get to do this. For my beef track, I'm going with But Daddy, I Love Him, because this is her beef track that she released to her fans that she hates. And I love that she did this. I love that she did this when she is at the height of her all popularity, right? The height of her cultural prominence. I love it because I was like listening to a podcast not too long before this album came out with Chuck Klosterman, who's this great rock critic, a longtime culture critic. And he was talking about how like Taylor Swift's, the only thing that he could possibly imagine could hurt Taylor Swift is if some like recording came out where she was found to be like shitting on her friends, basically behind their back. And then he says at the end, but probably they would just all like that anyway and say, well, but that's the bad fans and we're not them, so it's fine. And then she makes this fucking song where that's exactly what happens. Because this whole song is about how her fans didn't understand her relationship with Maddie Healy and how they all suck because they're trying to tell her that she can't date this guy who she wants to date. And it's just such like a brutal read on all of like and trust me, I've been in the Reddit boards. I know exactly who she's talking about. It's not me. I'm one of the good ones, obviously. But like, just like Sarah's and Hannah's in their Sunday best, clutching their pearls, singing "What a Mess." I just learned these people try to save you because they hate you. Like, oh my God, to write that about your fans is so crazy when it like her whole thing is like she's so good to her fans and she cares about them and they care about her. And it's this like toxic relationship because it's also, parasocial. And then she just absolutely destroys them, like with this, like the bridge that she has where in the bridge of the song, she says, "God, save the most judgmental creeps who say they want what's best for me, sanctimoniously performing soliloquies that I'll never see, thinking they can change the beat of my heart when he touches me, counteract the chemistry, undo the destiny. You ain't gotta pray for me and my wild boy and all this wild joy. All you want is great for me, then just white noise is my choice." It's like absolutely incredible, like her telling her fans to get the fuck away from her and stop telling her what to do. And I just love it. It's the best beef track that she has.
Such a great pick. And I think regardless of how that relationship ended, she would stand by it.
Yeah, because I mean, they shouldn't be telling her who she should date.
Exactly right. She would say, it doesn't matter if you were right or not. It's not your place.
But here's the brilliance of Taylor Swift. She can release a song like that but on a same album where it turns out he was kind of a douchebag, and she is saying he's also the smallest man who ever lived and just like an absolute garbage person. And so she lets the fans have this feeling of like, oh, she was mad at us, but then we were kind of right. And so it ultimately doesn't alienate anybody, which is really hard to pull off.
Taylor. And this is why I think cynically people thought she was so manufactured to begin with, right? It was like hard to believe that a person is authentically this like creatively brilliant and
That's
effective. Creatively brilliant and effective at like selling stuff too, right? Like you don't usually get both. You don't often get both in the same package. But she knows what she's doing. She's real good. Okay.
Alex, I came very close to making a similar argument with I Can Do It With a Broken Heart.
Yeah, that's another really good one.
A little, not as cutting, but a little bit of a fan beef track.
Here's what makes that a really good fan beef track is that then she chose to perform that at like it's a song that she wrote about how she has to fake it at the Eras tour, and that the fans feel like they're screaming more in a way that just like is devastating. And then she chooses to perform it at the Eras tour and gets the fans to scream more in that moment, which is just so meta and a real kind of like, yes, absolutely. So I feel like the performing it live is what like amplifies it to that top tier status.
Maria, beef track, your last pick.
Oh, I thought my wild card is my last, I think.
Making corrections now. We're ready for you. Hit us.
Okay, so I have my wild card, and this has been really hard because while everybody's talking, I'm like going back and forth and trying to like be like similar thing like with Randy, where it's like, well, I don't really have, do I need to like pick from another era or how do I round this out? And I think that I'm gonna go with Paper Rings as my wild card thing because I tend to like these like kind of heavier songs, but Paper Rings is so fun and it makes me so happy to like the moment it comes on in Lover, because I think Lover is one of the most like complete album, like I feel like I can't find a fault with it, like from beginning to end. It's just so fun and lighthearted I mean there's some stuff in it that's kind of heavy, but it's overall it feels very like light and fun and happy for generally. So I'm gonna go with Paper Rings because I just think that's such a sweet idea of like, I'd marry you with paper rings. And, that's like, we don't have to have any of this. I don't care about any of this. I just care about being with you. And that is so amazing. Like I've been married a really long time. And so, like when I hear this song, I'm like, no, I still feel that way. Like, I don't need any of this other stuff. We could just have paper rings or no rings. That's how I feel about it. I think that's how I'm going to round up my list here.
Perfect punctuation mark.
I've been talking to a lot of Taylor Swift fans in my life, and Paper Rings has come up in almost every single conversation. Not necessarily like at the top of the list, but everyone always tacks it on or gets to it pretty quickly because it's so fun. All right, folks. So we have done it. We drafted 70 Taylor Swift songs with an incredible panel of guests. I'm going to give everyone a quick send-off before we wrap up here tonight. The bad news is I never could have anticipated how many hours we would keep everyone here. I thought Kris was joking at the top that we could go this long. The good news is if I play my cards right, I might be able to cut this podcast to the exact length of the Eras tour. So maybe it's a happy mistake. So first and foremost, I want to quickly thank Meg and Davor, and I'm going to throw a little accolade your way. And the accolade I'm going to give to Meg and Davor are the true fans. The two of you drafted the most heavily from the first half of Taylor's catalog, that like sort of leading up to 1989. You've been there from the start, as we learned at the top of the draft. And I think that was reflected not only in the picks and your understanding of the history of Taylor, but in just your incredibly smart analysis. After we've kept you here for all of these hours, I don't know if I'll ever get to speak to you again. But thank you so much for being here tonight. How do you feel about your drafts, and what did you think of the experience?
I am actually amazed that I'll have to go back and look, but I don't think anyone took any of mine the entire time.
Nice.
But which makes sense because there's so many songs to pick from and they're all so great. This was fun. I have no regrets about being here or the lack of sleep I'm going to get tonight. It's fine.
Yeah, this has been great. I love just like just the whole thing of like, you know, trying to jump around the board and trying to strategize and figure out like what's going to get taken, like who might swipe something, what do I take now? Like that's always fun.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll just have to come back next year and draft all the songs we didn't draft this time. There you go. And we'll learn a thing or two. But yeah, thanks again for being here. It was an absolute pleasure. Moving down the list, in reverse order here, I'm gonna check in with myself, and I just want to thank everyone for educating me about Taylor Swift. I'm really glad I got to draft so heavily from Reputation. I'm really glad I got to draft so many Taylor Swift bops, and I think my accolade I'm going to give myself is just being the drafter who picked strategy over substance. Maybe that makes me the villain. Maybe one of you will have to write a diss track about me for approaching it that way. But I still feel incredibly great about my list. Leah, you are the champion of the Reputation album. And we are so happy that you are here to represent an album that's in contention for my favorite and is possibly my favorite album. And I think you did such a great job capturing what she brought to it. Leah, how'd you feel about your draft board and the overall experience?
I'm very surprised that I got so much Reputation on here, but also not, because it was really, that was like a turning point for me as a fan. I'm very happy with this. I very much like how different all of our tastes are and then where they do overlap. I lost a couple of my faves, of my picks. Is there anything I wanted to talk about that there wasn't? No, not really. We covered it. We got it.
Perfect.
Ain't that the way?
Leah, thank you so much for being here, and I hope I can talk you into another zany draft or more traditional podcast at some point in the future. It's always a treat to talk with you. Kris, my co-host, you know that I love you. You've got 2 accolades. Obviously, you get Girl Dad Draft King, as Alex articulated so well earlier. But I would also like to announce you as the champion of the Folklore album. You took 3 tracks from that album. Nobody else took more than 1 track from that album. So thank you for shouting that out. How do you feel about your final board, and how was the experience for you?
Those accolades are all that I could have hoped for coming into this draft. I think that, without being like overly clever about it, that just accurately represents my experience with Taylor. My Taylor Swift fandom lives quite squarely in those relationships, and that album is a big part of it. So I'm thrilled. One minor regret. It's minor. I did hope to have a chance to celebrate You Need to Calm Down as a diss track. I love taking the time to take a whole swipe at like the entire right wing of a political spectrum. It was just delightful, and so glad to at least be able to mention it now.
All right. Thank you so much, Kris. Alex, obviously we can't thank you enough for all the work and time and thought and effort you put into this draft document, this whole plan, forcing me to become a Swiftie and improving my overall quality of life with that task. So thank you. In terms of your draft accolades, you are tied with Maria for most albums represented in your draft. You managed to hit 8 different albums out of 10 categories, so that is pretty damned impressive. You are also the champion of the Lover album, having drafted 3 songs. Nobody else drafted more than a single song. How do you feel about your draft board, and how did you feel about this experience?
Well, this experience was like a once in a lifetime opportunity to just spend 3 hours talking about Taylor Swift until 1 a.m. So thank you for that. I love that I got to represent Lover, because I've always said Lover is an underrated album, and it's not my favorite album, but I think that it has a lot of really good individual tracks. So that makes me happy. I feel a little bad that I didn't shed any light to, her first two albums because they're both pretty good, but it is what it is. And I will say the only regrets that I have, I wasn't sure how Wildcard would go, but I really was hoping that I would get either would have, could have, should have for the reasons that I said, or New Year's Day for the reasons that I said. But I'll take the third place in that round because they were both taken by other people who spoke about it so wonderfully. So I'll be okay with that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. And Maria, you had our first overall pick. Thank you so much for being here because, first of all, even though we've been friends for so long, I somehow didn't know what a Swiftie you were until I stumbled upon this information by accident. And it was so great to get to know this new side of you. And as for our draft accolades, you tied with Alex for number of albums represented, but you have earned the crown for most diverse overall draft. Alex had 3 picks in one album, and you gave Speak Now and Evermore each 2 picks on top of your otherwise broad drafting. So you represented the most variety. How do you feel about your final draft board and the whole experience?
I'm pretty pleased with my draft board. I think that's kind of what I was going for, was sort of trying to spread it out, because I feel like even if I hadn't gotten certain things that I wanted, hold on. I lost my headphone. Even if I feel like if I hadn't gotten things that I wanted, there's still so much to pick from that I still love. And so it was really hard to go through all this. But at the same time, I feel like, it's possible to have gone through this and we didn't all, there weren't things that we all kind of wanted and stuff. So it's really amazing. So this was a lot of fun. It was a nice time to, like, an excuse also to, like, be like, well, I have to listen to Taylor Swift obsessively for the next 5 days to prepare for this podcast. So yeah, it was a long time. And I feel like you saying how you didn't know I was a Swiftie, for some reason, that's a common thing with people. Like, when I tell people I love Taylor Swift, they're like, "You do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I do. I don't understand why wouldn't I love Taylor Swift? I love pop music and good lyrics." So
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and thank you everyone for these 4 hours of your life, which were so fun for me, but a bigger sacrifice than I thought I was asking of any of you. Krista Miller, if you're out there, known fan of the Media Lit podcast, I bet your people could get in touch with Taylor's people. Maybe you can encourage her to give the pod a listen since you love it so much. Kris, if you have any words of farewell to our guests, please share them, and then maybe you can talk us into our outro.
Yeah, certainly. Just echoing everything Randy said. I didn't know he was preparing such accolades for everyone. A brilliant stroke, because you all deserve it. Really, thank you so much for taking the time with us. Excited to have new pod friends, to have seen some old pod friends. Looking forward to doing some version of this again in the future. So thank you. To the podlings at home, old and new, if there was ever a time to email Media Lit and tell us what you think about the episode, this would be the time. You can find us at media.slash.lit@gmail.com. Tell us what we missed. Tell us why the track left off the board was absolutely outrageous, where you were pulling your hair out, screaming at the podcast device. Let us know. We would love to hear about it. Or please tell us whose track list is your favorite. We'd love to shout them out. You can also find us on the socials, where you can follow, like, and comment on all the things we do. We are most active on Instagram at media.lit.pod. We'll also find our website and links to things like a Twitter still and a Blue Sky, delightfully. So follow us there as well. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that does it for our draft tonight. Kris, I'd say we open season 2 with a bang, with by far our longest podcast of all time. Farewell, and we'll see you next time. Long live